for up to 1 year. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-991-2952. That's 800-991-2952. Call now.
If you've been in an accident that wasn't your fault, your favorite attorney has a message for you. Collision, calamity, catastrophe. If you want money, you need an attorney. You need a bulldog. That's why you need to call the number on your screen now. You'll be connected to a legal expert. You got questions, they got answers. These bulldogs will make sure people pay. And if you don't get money, I don't get money. Pick up that phone and make that call now to see what your case could be worth.
800-511-8575.
The poverty is unimaginable. There are people who are struggling.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time.
This is the home of Galena. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
Right now in Ukraine, elderly Jews are trapped in unbearable poverty. If you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now.
We're taking a live look at Texas. You can see a truck there. People are still trying to figure out where their loved ones are.
Yeah.
Others who actually lost a loved one, they're in grieving and at the same time trying to restore their lives. So our thoughts and prayers continue to be with our fellow Americans.
Yeah, we heard from Congressman Roger Williams from the state, and he said there are still many obstacles ahead with respect to the recovery mission that is there, but there's so many courageous people who have stepped up and who are really trying their best to help those in need, and there's a tremendous amount of need in that state.
And you know, there's so many organizations and individuals working with those organizations. Many Americans are donating money, supplies, and some even showing up to do whatever they can to help their fellow Americans. And there's a news briefing coming up at
The Dove has an unexpected expense. Our video switcher must be replaced. Will you prayerfully consider helping to replace this important equipment? Thank you for partnering with The Dove.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, where this is where it happens, because Jerry Bilden's here.
I don't know
and when
about that,
he's
but
here, it happens.
It does.
And now what happens is yet to be played out. But hang on, the show is just beginning.
That's right. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. A lot going on out there. And, boy, we got a lot to bring to you this morning. So many things are happening so fast. I just want to say at the top of the program today, we had this huge storm come through night before last, and it started a lot of fires. And I don't know who's calling the shots these days, but the attitude about getting on fires has really changed.
Boy.
And I don't know what agencies, because I know that they work together and there's a collaboration to make all this work, but boy, they're on it. And I just want to say, you guys rock.
Yes.
I took a walk this morning early around the building. Over here are the two lead planes, two King Airs.
Okay.
Behind that is a 4-engine jet. Next to that is a firefighting helicopter.
Okay.
On the other side of the airport are two, not one, two DC-10s.
The big guys.
Big guys.
Yeah.
Right outside that door is a 4-engine jet. Right outside that door is a 4-engine jet. And right over there is a 4-engine prop. They were all flying last night.
We got a full firefighting inventory going here from your stroll. That's awesome.
I got to tell you, it's just a change of attitude of how they're attacking these things. And I don't know what agencies. You guys are obviously working together, which is so great to see. You guys rock.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to see a picture here in a moment. Can you throw it up, Scott, the outside picture? You'll see something here. All right, you see that little haze going on?
Yep.
We have a little bit of an air inversion, which is typical this time of year. Yeah. And from the smoke of the fires, and there's still some out there, has pushed the smoke down a little bit. But boy, these guys, they were rocking it last night.
And I'm telling you, when that DC-10 takes off, is there any doubt about who's lifting off that runway? Oh my goodness!
And low and slow. So anyway, that's my little commentary for this morning. God bless you guys for being out there doing a great job. Good morning to you. A lot in the news we'll get to. What do you got?
Well, we only have a couple things, and one of them is a little unusual. It is National Dimples Day. You know, people have dimples. Yeah, I got 2 of them. Did you know that only 20 to 30% of the entire world population has dimples?
Really?
Yes. And most people possess 2.
I was just blessed with good looks.
I got to tell you the truth. You know what? I wiped out all of the references to what people perceive dimples to do to the looks of others. You know, how it affects your appearance. And I left it all out.
Okay, well, I have to say this. It's cute on babies and wonderful on girls. Okay? But who cares on a guy? Okay?
All right. Well, normally if one person in a family has dimples, it's likely another family member will as well. Some scientists believe we inherit dimples. Others say that dimples are a random trait that people have. So until more research is available, dimples are the mystery of the day. Okay. One thing to eat. Have a cookie. It's National Sugar Cookie Day.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know why. The ever-popular delicious sugar cookie on National Sugar Cookie Day celebrates this type of a cookie. It's a holiday favorite, and why we celebrate it in the middle of the summer, I don't know.
Well, we had some sugar cookies back there that the Trailblaze bought in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And you have to underline and capitalize the word sugar.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so they make good stuff. All right, and that's all we got there. But, you know, sometimes you're looking for a quiet place to do some work. How do you do in this building? This is a busy building in here. How do you do with getting that little quiet corner to do some work?
You know, Jerry, of all questions, you asked the big one.
That is the big one.
It is.
Yeah.
This is Grand Central Station.
Oh, my goodness.
And there's times you could set a cannon off in here and not hurt anybody. But
yes. All right.
I have to work at it.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is, did you know that the world's quietest room is located at Microsoft's headquarters in Washington State? It's building 87 of Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, Washington. There lies the quietest room, a record-breaking background noise of 20.35 dBA. This room is 20 decibels below the minimum of human hearing. It is so silent that if you stay in it for long enough, you'll start to hear your own heartbeat, a deafening ringing in your ears as you sit there, and the grinding of your bones. To achieve absolute silence, the room was constructed with onion-like structure made of 6 layers of concrete and steel. It is the world's quietest room, and they say that people can only take it for a certain amount of time in there. They say the world record for staying in the room is 58 minutes. Most people can only last a few minutes.
So why did they build it?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But the next time you're at the intersection and it's loud out there and you want to honk your horn and let's go get some silence.
I think I'd like to go in there and just to see what silence.
Just chill. Yes.
The scripture comes to me, be still and know.
Yeah.
Could you hear God in there?
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be the ideal place to hear him, wouldn't it?
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, here's a guy that would never qualify for going into a room that is quiet.
A look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. With temperatures backing off a couple of notches, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Vancouver, Portland, and McMinnville, and near 81 in Wilsonville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with mostly sunny skies and daytime highs in the low 80s for Salem and Albany, near 78 in Corvallis and 83 in Eugene with a light northwest wind this afternoon. More sunshine across central Oregon with daytime high temperatures in the upper 80s in Prineville and low to mid 80s for Bend and Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny in mid 90s, then a slight chance of thunderstorms. Some spots of patchy fog this morning along the coast, then clearing to sunny to partly sunny and near 70 in Coos Bay, mid-60s for Port Orford, 57 in Brookings, and near 63 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, continued sunshine for the Rogue Valley with daytime highs in the low 90s for Grants Pass and Medford and upper 80s in Ashland. Sunny and breezy in the Klamath Basin with highs in the mid-80s. Into northern California, sunny with a high near 90 in Wairika, sunny and hot in Redding with a high near 97 and mid-90s for Chico and Sacramento with a south-southeast wind around 5 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then sunny in low 80s in Santa Rosa, becoming sunny in low 80s in Napa, a slight chance of drizzle in San Francisco, then sunny in upper 60s, and today in San Jose, becoming sunny in near 82. It's your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
I had a beautiful shot this morning of our southern Oregon. We do have some clouds that kind of give the sky some texture, and we are enjoying about 8 to 10 degrees cooler.
Yeah.
This is much nice, and took a little walk out to see all the airplanes this morning. It was very refreshing out there. We do have some smoke in the air because of the fires, and we'll keep you posted on that. But again, hats off to who's ever calling the shots these days. You guys rock.
Yes.
You're getting on them, so that's good stuff all the way
Did you open
around.
up your windows last night?
Oh, yeah, the windows and the doors and everything.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
All right. Well, how's your prayer life? There are a number of things that we pray about. Some of them are pretty constant, and this may be one of those subjects for you as Pastor Greg Laurie encourages us to keep praying for those in our lives who do not yet know the Lord.
How long does it take to become a Christian? It can happen just like that. It's an amazing thing. I remember when I asked the Lord to come into my life. I was a 17-year-old kid. I was on my high school campus. And I sat at a distance and watched what we called the Jesus freaks on our campus. They would sit around in a circle and sing songs about God. And I watched them thinking, these poor delusional people, they're so weird. They're so strange. And this is all wrong. None of it is true. It couldn't possibly be true. And as I sat there and watched them, a guy got up to speak. His name was Lonnie, and he made one statement. He said, Jesus said, you're for me or against me. I looked back at the Christians. I thought, well, they're for him, and I'm not one of them. Does that mean I'm against him? And suddenly I believed, just like that. I believed. How could that possibly happen? Maybe that happened for you. You just suddenly believed. And for others, it takes a little while. They come around and they warm up to it. I literally, in a moment, went from darkness to light. And so look, there's no secret thing to say to a person. I've had people come up to me and say, Greg, you're an evangelist. What is the one thing I can say to my non-believing friend to make them believe? Are you kidding me? If I knew such a thing, I would tell you all about it. You would have already heard it. There's no one thing I or anyone else can say to make a person believe. It needs to be a work of the Holy Spirit. But here's our job. Our job is to share the gospel, to model the gospel. And as people see it in us, they're drawn to hear what we have to say. And conversion, that can happen in a nanosecond. So keep praying for people you know that don't know the Lord.
Well, it's true. I think so often we over-explain it.
Yeah.
Leave room for the Holy Spirit to do His work, because you can't do that work. You know, sometimes you just have to be satisfied that you plant seeds.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else waters and God harvests.
Yeah, I like the elevator stop gospel proclamation approach.
Yeah.
Can you go between the first and the what floor? 10th?
Yeah.
8th? I don't know. explain it.
Yeah, good
right.
stuff. All right, good morning to you. 10:30 past the hour. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. Something broke yesterday that's really interesting. Now, this is beginning to be a story that's going to have so many legs, twists and turns to it. Hold on, folks, because it will dominate in and out of the headlines, but today it is the headlines. And apparently the FBI is launching an investigation into former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey. This is unbelievable. Why are they doing this? Because they now have uncovered all of the files that show that the Trump-Russia collusion was a false deal. It was a total fraud.
Especially the Steele dossier created by the Clinton campaign.
The whole thing was to go after President Trump at his first go-around and keep him out of the deal. So the sad part about it and the alarming part about it is that we had federal agencies involved.
Right.
Now, does this have legs? Do they have immunity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Those are big questions,
Jonathan Turley was on Fox, and here's what he had to say.
Well, it's obviously a major development. These are two of the top people in the American intelligence system. And there have been these long unanswered questions about what they told Congress. At points, they both seem to adopt the Sergeant Schultz approach of, I knew nothing. If only I knew, I would have done something. That didn't strike many as being very credible. Both of these tend to be somewhat of micromanagers. They take pride in the fact that they follow the details of their departments. And it all comes down particularly to a period in 2017, an intelligence community assessment, an ICA, that went out and viewed the Steele dossier, that infamous dossier funded by the Clinton campaign, as credible. And that, in fact, Steele was credible. They knew that was not true. The CIA had already said that it had great misgivings about the Steele dossier, even though the Clinton campaign was denying to reporters that it funded the dossier. It was, in fact, funded through the law firm of the Clinton that the Clinton campaign used. And so there's a lot of questions here as to why particularly Comey, for example, signed off on these FISA warrants, these secret court warrants to conduct this surveillance. The other thing, by the way, they knew very early on was that Carter Page, who was such a significant figure in the Steele dossier and the whole Russian hoax, was not only not a Russian spy, but was actually a CIA asset. And so the CIA told the FBI, you're on the wrong road here. You're going after someone who is assisting us. All of that somehow got buried. And what came to the surface was the Steele dossier, which was not only not verified, it had been really shredded by many people in the Intelligence Committee.
So what's going to happen here as this begins to unwind, from what I understand, and we don't know all the details yet, but a couple things will come out of this. It looks like both could be charged with perjury. Because their testimonies did not line up.
Right.
And at one point in their testimonies, they actually contradicted themselves. So what the FBI does very well is go back and pull all these records and read all this stuff and start comparing the notes. So we'll see what happens there. I thought Comey, I don't know about Brennan, but I thought Comey was given immunity. I got to check that out. So
I think you're right, though. I think he did.
Okay, so I don't know if anything can come of it. But what's going to go on here is by going after the truth of these, what happened here, you destroy these guys' credibility. Right. Whether they go to jail or not, you've destroyed their credibility, and you restored integrity back into the agency. And I can't help but think that that's going to be one of the major things that they're looking to do here. Why are we doing this when it's old stuff and it's water under the bridge? And why are we doing this? You have to reestablish credibility and, quite frankly, a little fear, if I can put it that way, back into the agency. Do your job and do it right. Okay? So we'll see. This is the beginning of a big story. So a lot to come. Well, the other thing is what's happened in Texas. I interviewed two people live on the scene there yesterday. They Skyped in. It was amazing. And I asked the wrong question.
Really?
I have to tell you something. I stepped in it. And I was unintentional.
Really?
I asked the question about the different views of the warning.
Why was that a wrong question?
They came unglued.
Really?
here's why they came unglued.
Okay.
Because more attention has been given to that than rescuing people.
Yes.
And I got it.
Oh, wow.
And the damage is 50 miles long. 50 miles long.
Wow.
Okay? People are still unaccounted for.
Right.
The death toll is over 100.
Right.
People still missing. And the church community, if I can put it that way, between up and down 50 miles has really responded. It's all hands on deck. This is humanity at its best, dealing with a natural disaster at its worst. And they didn't like that question, okay? And I'm reading other things about the weather thing and all. And, of course, the legacy news media wants to make that the issue instead of rescuing people. So you got to put it, when do we deal with that side of the issue? By the way, so far that side of the issue has been debunked, but you wouldn't know it by watching the news.
By watching the news, yes. Wow, okay.
So anyway, Ben Baker, Lieutenant Colonel, Texas game warden, here's a little report of outlining the difficulty in the last 5 days.
We've got numerous responders with specialized capabilities where we've got these large pile of debris. And with our canines and you know, when we're trying to make these recoveries, these large piles can be very obstructive. And to get deep into these piles, it's very hazardous. And those specialized teams have to go in there layer by layer because our first responders, also the safety of them is concerned. So it's extremely treacherous, time consuming, it's dirty work, the water's still there. So we're having to go layer by layer, peeling these off to make those recoveries.
So what he went on to explain is, part of this operation, your first swipe is over. You know, you're looking for anybody outside hanging on anyway.
Right.
Then you come back and you start going down these various layers. And below the degree, you could see a car. There's somebody in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When whole campsites were wiped out, RVs floating down the river with families in them. I mean, this is catastrophic. And continue to pray for them. But moreover is the relief organizations that have come, and just church communities bringing water and food and supplies and things like that. These people are working exhausting hours, and they are going to stay at it until everybody's accounted for.
Yeah, good.
So it's a big deal. Oh, wow. All right. Well, it looks like the president wins another one.
Another?
The Supreme Court yesterday cleared the way for President plans to downsize the federal workforce, despite warnings that the critical government services will be lost and hundreds of thousands of federal jobs will be gone. The Supreme Court yesterday said overrode the lower court order to temporarily freeze the cuts, and they said no, he can go ahead with them. You know what they're doing?
What?
They're restoring the executive branch.
Yeah. Yes.
This is well, someday if I ever get all the things I want to do, but if you look at Scripture and how the church was to be organized,
okay,
that plan came to the United States, and it has to do with accountability. And by restoring the executive branch, he is the president.
Yeah.
He does have power. And he should be able to cut the cost of the operation, especially if the operation is going bankrupt.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening
and
here.
Who else in government, could and should do this?
Well, supposedly all the people you elect, they're going to go do it, and they get in there and they don't.
Right. Well, they get entrenched. Yes.
So,
yes.
Anyway, that's a big win.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think some of these lower courts are they're saying, I'm going to throw, it's like throwing a spike strip out in front of a car.
Yes.
Okay? They're going to throw it out there anyway, but then they're going to get slapped down for doing it because the Supreme Court has now ruled.
Yeah.
These lower courts are out of place here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. Then there's something else. This is really something. And I don't know what you do with this. We watched up in Idaho, somebody set a fire. The fire department comes out, and that was an ambush to shoot at them and killed 2 fire people.
Yeah.
Well, these ambushes are continuing to happen. 10 people were arrested for taking part in a planned ambush on ICE detention center in Texas. Now, Texas has got a lot of problems. Pray for Texas. But 10 people apparently went into this ICE detention facility in Texas over the weekend, and they were attempting to murder federal agents. Now, they got all 10 of them. Here's the question. This is another set-up ambush.
Yeah.
Do they be brought up on attempted murder charges?
I would think so, and I would hope so. I mean...
Yeah. Tom Holman is running around, of course, he's warning people that this is more and more and more and more.
Right.
And you saw the sweeps that these ICE agents are doing through parks and places.
Yeah.
Now, people don't like that. I get that. But, I was reading this morning. I should pull it up here so I don't misquote it, but let me paraphrase. It's found in Proverbs. It says this, and I'm paraphrasing. Blessed is the one who gets the criminal. And I'm paraphrasing it. In other words, there is a blessing by arresting the criminal and bringing them to justice.
Good.
Let's see if I can find that scripture this morning. Okay, and I'm paraphrasing. So, law is a God thing.
It absolutely is, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what's going to happen here, but these ambushes is the new way of demonstrations. It's the new way of being seen and heard. Okay, so this is a John 10 and 10 thing. The devil comes to steal, to destroy. Let's just stop on destroy. Look at all these riots and everything they're destroying. And to kill. Those are the three job descriptions of the enemy. Jesus sums it up in one thing. I come that you might have life and more abundantly. And then you go to Deuteronomy, you go to Psalms, you go to Proverbs, you go to Genesis, go throughout the Bible, and it basically says this: I set before you two things, life and death. Then the next line, choose life. And these people are out killing people. And so we'll see what happens here, but they arrested 10 of them. Will they be brought up on murder charges? And the other thing we need to do in America is get back to swift justice.
Yes.
Don't tie the court up for 5 years for something that is obvious.
Great point. Yes.
Yeah, sometimes I have them, but they're rare.
You got it.
They're in between things.
You're flowing
So
this morning.
What is today? What did you have? Oh, dimples.
Dimples, yes. And did he have anything? Oh, yeah. And we had sugar cookies. Oh, well, dimples and sugar cookies, they go together, don't they?
Sugar cookies create dimples. We'll be right back.
You gotta speak to the impossible. Oh, you gotta pray till you break the brakes through the ceiling.
Will you prayerfully consider helping the Dove with, quite frankly, an unexpected expense? We have to replace our main switcher here at the Dove TV. Now, we weren't expecting that or budgeted for it, but the manufacturer now no longer supports this unit. To replace it, it's about $47,500. So we're asking you to prayerfully consider supporting us and only do what the Lord is leading you to do. Feel free to give us a call or go online. And please know that together, we really are changing lives for good.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
Big ideas grow.
Good morning to you. Happy Wednesday, by the way, as we work our way down the week here. Somebody said this is Scott in there.
Okay.
So if Scott doesn't have 3 burritos in the morning, it could come out a little fuzzy. Okay.
Oh, no. Okay, so how did this one come out?
So he is saying that today is the shortest day in the year.
You know, he was telling me stuff about this, the way that the moon lines up and all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, it's called, no, we've already done that last month.
I thought it was the 21st or the 20th.
The 20th, I think.
20th.
Yeah, I think it was the 20th.
That's when we went from long days to something about, anyway.
Scott's alternate universe.
Well, it's Scott's universe, yeah. Anyway.
And it is the shortest day on.
How's it working for you, Scott? When you go to bed at 4 in the afternoon and you get up at 1 in the evening or in the morning, yeah, it's a short day. Hang in there, Scott.
All right, dude.
Anyway, all right, a backyard story. This is really kind of cool.
What?
And I want to say hats off to the Maslow Project here in Southern Oregon. Jackson and Josephine County can now receive help, people in rural areas, for applying for jobs and housing and other services without having to visit an office. A new van from the Maslow Project, a homeless service nonprofit organization here in Oregon, is bringing a case management service directly to the area, outfitting with food, pantry, refrigerator, internet, and air conditioning, and the van allows the organization to extend services. So people don't have to go to a crazy office and then go to this mobile unit and start the process. This helps speed things up.
Yeah.
And the Maslow Project is known for a lot of things, and I just want to say, especially Matt Northrup over there, he's the program director, thanks. This is cool. So I think, just let people be innovative and things get done.
Yeah.
Get the government out of it.
Out of it, yes.
And all of a sudden things function better and certainly a whole lot more efficiently. So congratulations and thank you. Thank you for serving the community at that level. All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. And severe clear.
Nice.
A little cooler.
Yeah.
Right. So we're being in the 80s today?
Yeah, we're going to go up to the upper 80s today, and that's going to continue tomorrow into the low 90s on Friday. But a warm weekend. We're going to get it back up into the mid 90s and into next week. It's really going to warm up again. Okay. We haven't had much triple digit action this year, but we may see it in about 1 week's time.
So be careful, hot and dry.
Yeah, well, we're kind of watching with curiosity the mayoral race in New York City. Yeah. And certainly only one candidate has got our attention right now, and that is the Democrat side.
Yeah.
You think Cuomo is reeling after losing that primary?
Well, Cuomo, just, he needs to... I know.
You know what?
You know how you go to these places like a Target and you plug your car in?
Yeah.
That's what he needs to do. He needs to go get plugged into reality because that's kind of crazy.
I know, but you look at a guy like Cuomo, and then you see who did better than him in the primary, and you think, Cuomo wasn't that bad, was he? Compared to what they got.
Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting. Well, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, advises against voting for socialist Zoran Mamdani, and this to avoid, check this out, Perry, a federal takeover of the city.
How do you want Republican voters in the city to vote in the upcoming mayoral election? Should they vote for Eric Adams? Should they vote for Sliwa? Should they pick someone else?
Look, number one, you have a communist running, and you shouldn't vote for him. He's a disaster. He's leading. He's got the Democrat nomination because that shows you where the Democrats have gone. He actually wants to take over the grocery stores of John Catsimatidis, who's a great guy, a rich guy, grocer, does a good job, wants to take over. He actually called me the other day. He's concerned his stores are going to be taken from him, and they won't be run like John runs them, believe me. He runs a good operation, but he actually said he wants to run his own grocery stores. No, this is a man who's not very capable, in my opinion, and he's convinced them to go with him. Now, as you know, Cuomo, who does have capability, is running, but he got knocked out, and now they're running as you have Eric Adams, the current mayor, you have Cuomo, and you have Curtis Sliwa. And Curtis runs every 4 years. He seems to be a fixture on the running scale. But it's. I'm not getting involved. But I can tell you this. I used to say we will not ever be a socialist country, right? Well, I'll say it again. We're not going to have. If a communist gets elected to run New York, it can never be the same. But we have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. We could run D.C. I mean, we're looking at D.C. We don't want crime in D.C. We want the city to run well.
All right, so there's a couple of things to take away on this, and you bring it up. The fact that this socialist was out, got more votes than Cuomo, is a real slap at Cuomo.
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't want him.
Right.
So he needs to take that message. He can get beat by a guy like this.
Yeah.
It also shows the desperation of the D's looking for a fresh face.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But the reality of this person now starting to surface, and people are going, no, we don't want this. This plays right into Mayor Adams' hands.
Yeah, I would think so.
As an independent. And I don't know of anybody else out there other than this perpetual client or candidate, but I don't know anybody else out there, Democrat, Republican, that could step up and do this. The oddity is that it could be that Adams is crazy. Now, you got to remember, he was chief of police.
He was.
You know, if he could return back to his passion roots and law and order, he could pull this off. But this socialist guy, he is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
he's crazy. I mean, he wants to take all the stores over, give the food away.
Well, and he's backed by two crazies, AOC and Bernie Sanders.
Good.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, I don't know. It's obvious. And the question is, will New York do this to itself?
Oh, man.
Because one person did the economics on it. Mm-hmm. The amount of people that have been moving and the amount of people that will pick up and move will probably ruin the city financially. And I don't care how much money it takes to live in New York City, it won't take that much more because all the values will go down.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Will Fifth Avenue find its way to Florida?
That's a huge question, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will Fifth Avenue find its way to Dallas, Texas? Okay.
Yeah.
You got to go where the people and the business is.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway.
And how does the center of the capitalist world, New York City, how do they end up possibly getting a socialist/communist mayor? I mean, it's mind-boggling. It does make sense.
There's another little example of this. California, Newsom. Okay?
Yeah.
He's a socialist.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And look what's happening to Hollywood. It's leaving.
Right.
It's breaking up. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's not there. It's over. So things do change.
Yeah.
You get wrinkles and develop dimples.
Oh, come on.
We'll be right back.
The world starts changing when the church starts praying. Strongholds start to break. Oh, when we pray. Prison walls start.
Go where the wild runs deep. At Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, you feel the power of the mighty Rogue River as you take in the sights and sounds of nature, journey through Hellgate Canyon, and adventure through the breathtaking wilderness. Enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, and end your adventure with our exciting jetboat spins. It's a memory in the making with family and friends. Book your adventure at Hellgate.com. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Have you seen Mornings on the Dove?
Iran did attack Israel yesterday, and that has escalated. This is the cost of freedom and liberation. It doesn't minimize the pain and the suffering here and the death.
G7 is interested in monitoring their program. Trump says, we're way past that.
Yeah.
We're eliminating it.
Dads have power in their words.
Wake up to information. Mornings on the Dove, weekdays.
Good morning to you. 24 minutes before the hour on a beautiful Wednesday morning, and there's a lot going on in this old world, so let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up on the Middle East.
This is CBN Newswatch.
And we begin with the ceasefire talks for the war in Gaza as Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump meet in a closed-door session. Those talks taking place as Israel is keeping up its attacks on Hamas. Chuck Holton has our report.
Prime Minister Netanyahu met with President Trump at the White House Tuesday night. The focus, the return of hostages in Gaza.
We have still to finish the job in Gaza, release all our hostages, eliminate and destroy Hamas's military and governance capabilities, because Gaza must have a different future for our sake, for everyone's sake.
He also pointed to recent joint U.S.-Israel strikes on Iranian targets, calling them a turning point for the region.
First comes strength, then comes the peace. Our resolute action, the resolute decision of President Trump to act with us against those who seek to destroy Israel and threaten the peace of the world has made a remarkable change in the Middle East.
Meanwhile, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation continues its large-scale effort to feed civilians inside the war zone. The group was launched in February to counter widespread food shortages after Hamas hijacked and resold international aid to finance its war effort. Other efforts, such as the U.S.-backed floating pier, largely failed. The GHF, largely funded by the U.S. and backed by Israel, is operating despite opposition from the United Nations, which has made allegations that the IDF killed civilians seeking aid. An IDF investigation found one civilian was accidentally killed while troops were trying to control a chaotic crowds that are frequently infiltrated by Hamas operatives. Over the weekend, terrorists threw grenades at a food distribution center, injuring 2 American aid workers. Despite the dangers, GHF has successfully distributed more than 65 million meals to Gaza civilians so far. As political pressure and battlefield costs converge, the focus is now on Washington and Doha to see whether diplomacy can deliver what everyone hopes for: a lasting resolution. From Jerusalem, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Thank you, Chuck. And our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now here again in the studio. Yeah. It's so good to see you, Chris. Well, Chris, let's get right into it. Is Hamas trying to intimidate Palestinians from using the food from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GHF? And does Hamas see the GHF as a threat?
Yeah, very much, Wendy. Since the very beginning of the war, and when humanitarian aid was going in, sometimes by the hundreds of truckloads and literally hundreds and thousands of tons of food, they have been stealing that food and using it for their own purposes. First of all, sometimes they stockpile it, and they have been using it for their own fighters, and they've been using it as a way to control the population. So now the GHF has come in since February, and we were there at the very beginning with a news conference with Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Personally, when I heard the news of this new foundation, I wasn't sure of the impact, but it's really had a profound impact on what's going on in Gaza. So now Hamas has an alternative, or the people of Gaza have an alternative food source away from Hamas. So this undermines Hamas's ability to control the population, to sell the food, to make more money. And now, so the GHF is really a mortal threat to Hamas's control over the Gaza Strip.
So why is the UN against the GHF? You'd think they would be great, you feel great about feeding people.
Exactly. You would think that would be exactly what they want. But it also undermines their authority. It's UNRWA and other UN organizations that tragically we have found since October 7th have been in cahoots with Hamas, that many of the UNRWA employees have actually been part of Hamas. So it seems to undermine their ability to control the population and to have their say. So it undermines their authority as well.
Chris, Netanyahu says Israel must finish the job against Hamas. How can that be reconciled with an attempt at a temporary ceasefire?
Well, because Hamas, it's very hard to reconcile that, because what Hamas wants is they want an end to the war. They want a permanent ceasefire. They want to survive the war. And those goes exactly diametrically opposed to what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just said in Chuck's report, that they want to make sure that Hamas is defeated militarily, and they want to make sure that Hamas never has the ability to govern the Gaza Strip anymore. And so what we're seeing now is a very difficult time to reconcile these two opposite positions. It's a very hard time for Steve Witkoff to square the circle, as some people say, to make sure that the ceasefire can be achieved so some of these hostages can be released, but that Israel can still continue its goals of the war.
All right, well, there you go. So I think this is, I don't know. I listen to a lot of the talk shows and read a lot of, we're surfers like everybody else.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know.
That's true. That's right.
You don't know what intelligence has. You don't know what really went on in the room.
Yeah.
So everything else is speculation. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I think you have two allies that are strong. They're partners, the United States and Israel. You got one guy that really wants peace at all costs, and the other guy says, "Yeah, we do too. However, you cannot allow this cancer has to be cut out." So do you do full-blown cutout surgery?
Oh, amputation?
Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's got to be cut out.
Yeah.
Do you want your your cancer doctor to only take half the tumor out?
Enough said, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, you said you don't know what you don't know, but you know what we do know?
What?
The weather.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we do know the weather because it's done with sugar cookies.
Yeah.
A look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. With temperatures backing off a couple of notches, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid-upper 70s for Vancouver, Portland, and McMinnville, and near 81 in Wilsonville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with mostly sunny skies and daytime highs in the low 80s for Salem and Albany, near 78 in Corvallis, and 83 in Eugene with a light northwest wind this afternoon. More sunshine across central Oregon with daytime high temperatures in the upper 80s in Prineville and low to mid 80s for Bend and Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny in mid 90s, then a slight chance of thunderstorms. Some spots of patchy fog this morning along the coast, then clearing to sunny to partly sunny and near 70 in Coos Bay, mid 60s for Port Orford, 57 in Brookings, and near 63 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, continued sunshine for the Rogue Valley with daytime highs in the low 90s for Grants Pass and Medford and upper 80s in Ashland. Sunny and breezy in the Klamath Basin with highs in the mid 80s. Into northern California, sunny with a high near 90 in Wairika, sunny and hot in Redding with a high near 97 and mid 90s for Chico and Sacramento with a south-southeast wind around 5 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then sunny in low 80s in Santa Rosa, becoming sunny in low 80s in Napa, a slight chance of drizzle in San Francisco, then sunny in upper 60s, and today in San Jose, becoming sunny in near 82. It's your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
Okay, there you go. And that's a picture of southern Oregon. The view is now slowly panning from north to south. We have some clouds, and see the smoke? Mm-hmm. Okay, and you can step outside our door, which you just did a few moments ago, and you can smell it. Mm-hmm. So, but outside our door is an Air Force of firefighting aircraft, and it's just amazing what's on this field here this morning. It is unbelievable. I've never seen this many.
Yeah. And 2 DC-10s?
2 DC-10s.
Wow, that's the big
We
one.
have 2 guide planes, which are the King Air sitting out there. I'd love to go fly in one of those.
I bet you would.
I've been on the DC-10 inside when it was parked here, but you can't fly in it because of all that. But I went in there and talked to the crew. It's pretty cool how they operate. They have 3 of these 4-engine, small little 4-engine jets, and I'm not sure what the aircraft is. I need to look that up.
Okay.
And then they have a 4-engine turboprop. And they're all sitting right outside the door here, ready to go.
Hey, you remember when that DC...
Oh, and a helicopter.
And a helicopter, okay. Yeah, that's an interesting looking helicopter too, by the way.
Yeah.
But you remember when the DC-10 was in service for passenger flights? Did you fly in that?
I did one. I'm trying to figure where I did.
I did too, yeah, more than once.
People loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out why they...
Was it the original wide body, what they called the wide body?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It was very wide,
Yeah.
and you could... this one out here that they use for firefighting, the tank's down below, but the deck upside where the chairs and the seats would normally be.
Okay.
That's a bowling alley. That's huge.
Oh, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's really
that'd
cool.
be cool.
All right.
All right. Well, it is the oldest and most prestigious. It's going on right now, and the very first one took place on this day in history.
On July 9, 1877, a small club on the outskirts of London made history. The All England Croquet and Lawn Tennis Club hosted its very first lawn tennis tournament, what we now know as Wimbledon. 21 amateurs competed in only one event, the gentlemen's singles, with a 25 guinea trophy on the line. The sport itself had evolved from a medieval French handball game called jeu de paume to indoor real tennis and eventually to lawn tennis played outdoors on grass. Originally a croquet club, the All England Club embraced tennis's rising popularity. They published the tournament invite in the Field magazine and created formal rules, many of which still exist today, like the 78 by 27 foot court and the quirky scoring 15, 30, 40 game. The first tournament paused midweek for a cricket match, and the final was even rained out, another soon-to-be Wimbledon tradition. When play resumed, W. Spencer Gore dominated the final, winning in just 48 minutes before 200 paying spectators. In 1884, Wimbledon added the ladies' singles and men's doubles. Mixed and women's doubles followed in 1913. By the early 1900s, it had gone from a local event to a global phenomenon. Today, Wimbledon remains the only major tournament still played on grass, held every summer, just as it began nearly 150 years ago.
And it's on right now. We've been watching it. It's fascinating to watch. I love watching tennis. Wimbledon is absolutely terrific.
Yeah.
And they still have a long-time rule.
What's that?
Everybody has to wear white.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they go to the other tournaments and they can wear anything else. They want. But you come to Wimbledon and it's white.
Right, absolutely.
So anyway, it's going on right now, and it's very it's cool. I guess good stuff. All right, Jack Hibbs reminds us that is what we fight for in America freedom and liberty. Is liberty a gift from God? Here's what he had to say.
I'm sorry to tell you, maybe you already know this, but very few nations, if any, really celebrate their birthdays like we do in all the world. So I want you to see what Thomas Jefferson had to say. God who gave us life gave us liberty. And can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are the gift of God, that they are not to be violated but with his wrath? Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. Thomas Jefferson said that. The man who universities proclaimed to be a deist or an atheist. Would to God more deists or atheists spoke like that. He speaks more clear than most Christians who should be thankful for their country. And I do believe in what he said. We should tremble at the mismanagement of freedom. Again, Thomas Jefferson said this. He says, the reason that Christianity is the best friend of government is because Christianity is the only religion that changes the heart. Thomas Jefferson. I stress again. What about the words of John Adams, the cousin of Sam Adams? John Adams said, and may that being who is supreme over all, the patron of order, the fountain of justice, and the protector in all ages of the world of virtuous liberty, continue his blessing upon this nation and its government and give it all possible success and duration consistent with the ends of his providence. John Adams said that.
Yeah. If you ever go to Washington, D.C., go to the monuments.
Yeah.
Go to the Jefferson Monument. They'll always say, well, he was this great deist. But just read the rim inside the rotunda in there.
Good point.
Okay. Anyway, good stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Jack Hibbs. All right. When we come back, if we do, we'll have more.
We are free from sin forevermore. Oh, how sweet this sound.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered from homes to homes on wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
Since 1987, Four Seasons Nursery has been the gold standard in the green industry here in Southern Oregon. Tim Albert and his friendly staff continue to offer the best plants and most accurate knowledge to create your dream landscape. At Four Seasons Nursery on Crater Lake Avenue, you can let your imagination run wild with a huge selection of all things plant and gardening for both inside and outside beautification. Whether it's a flower for your window seal, one of our beautifully renowned signature hanging baskets, or a complete landscape design for your entire property, Four Seasons Nursery can help you every step of the way with design services, workshops, and more. Let your imagination run wild as you immerse yourself in their nursery filled with beauty that knows no bounds. Four Seasons Nursery, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 1/2 mile north of Vilas Road, 541-779-5603, 541-779-5603.
Tackling the tough issues facing America and our nation's freedom. That's Sekolo on the Dove TV. A bold half hour taking you inside the battle of constitutional and political freedom. Be in the know with Sekolo on the Dove TV.
7 before the hour, and Lee Strobel, another great apologist. His story, his personal story, is amazing.
Yep.
So, of all people he hooks up with is Kirk Cameron.
Oh,
so
right.
These two guys are talking back and forth, and we've talked about it here, and at least I have done interviews on them, of the stories coming out of the Middle East countries where Muslims are waking up of dreams of Jesus and knowing exactly who he is, converting like instantly, like Greg Laurie said a few moments ago. And it is happening in the Middle East, and here's a little bit of what they said.
Here you have these closed countries where in many cases it's illegal to share the gospel of Jesus. And yet, we've seen more Muslims come to faith in Christ in the last couple of decades than in the 1,400 years since Muhammad. And a third to a quarter of them have had a Jesus dream before they converted. But what's interesting is there's external corroboration for these dreams. In other words, this is not just something from a subconscious mind. Besides which, a devout Muslim has no incentive to have a dream about the Christian Jesus and maybe lead him into apostasy and maybe a death sentence in certain countries. So there's no incentive to have a dream like this. But I'll tell you how it works. They don't go to sleep and have a dream about Jesus and wake up as a Christian. That's not how it works. Here's what happens. I'll tell you an example. There's a woman named Noor, and she's a mother of 8, a devout Muslim in Cairo. And she has a dream about Jesus. And it's unlike any dream she's ever had. And she's walking along the lakeshore with Jesus. And it's just so mesmerizing. And she said, I felt the love and the grace and the purity and the beauty of Jesus. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel shame. I was with a man, but I didn't feel shame. And we're walking along. And I said, tell me, Jesus, why did you appear to me? I'm a poor Muslim mother of 8. And he said, my friend will tell you tomorrow all about why I'm here. He said, who is your friend? And he gestured down. She realized there was another man walking with them. He hadn't noticed him because she was so mesmerized by Jesus. And, oh, there's a man walking with them. So she wakes up from the dream. The next day, she goes to the crowded marketplace in Cairo. and she sees the man from her dream. She goes up to, you're the one. He said, what?
You're the man of my dreams.
Yeah, you're the man of my dreams. You're the one. Same glasses, same face, same clothes. You're the guy. And he said, did you have a dream about Jesus last night? Yes. He's an underground church planter. He wasn't going to go to the crowded marketplace in Cairo on Friday afternoon because it's chaotic, but he felt like God had an assignment for him. So he went that day. He encounters this woman who saw him in her dream with Jesus. He pulls her aside, he opens the Bible, and he shares the gospel with her. That is how these dreams, that's how these work. So there's external corroboration. It's not just a dream inside someone's head. It points towards somebody, and that's how these things take place. These are so common. I interviewed Tom Doyle, who's written books about this. He's a Middle Eastern expert. And he said, Lee, I could call Syria right now. I could call Iraq right now and give you 5 more stories. He said, it is so common. In fact, he said, in Cairo, often in the newspaper, you'll see an ad. And the ad will say, call this number, and we'll tell you about the man in white you met in your dream last night.
Amazing.
Well, that's one story, and there are all kinds of these stories coming. So what we're hearing and sensing is the transcendence of God working in the lives supernaturally of people. So we'll talk about Matthew 7:7, great verse for you today. Ask, and it will be given. Seek, and you'll find. Knock, and the door will be open.
Sherms Market Jackson County Fair is back, y'all, and it's fun for the whole herd. Catch country legend Jody Messina live on July 16th with hits like Heads Carolina, Tails California, and more. Then on July 19th, it's Are You Ready? A Taylor Experience, a high-energy live tribute to Taylor Swift's record-breaking tour, sponsored by Hunter Communications and Michelob Ultra. The Sherms Market Jackson County Fair. It's fun for your whole herd. Grab your tickets now at theexpo.com.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Chris Silva understands your home and your commercial buildings are 2 of the largest investments most people make in a lifetime. One is for your family, the other is to support your family financially. That is why Chris Silva Painting goes the extra mile to protect both homes and commercial buildings with proper painting preparation and high-quality primers and paints. Serving Southern Oregon since 2006, this family-owned and operated business has painted over 1,000 homes. Chris Silva Painting offers an industry-leading 5-year warranty that covers materials and labor on all painting projects work for both residential and commercial buildings, both interior and exterior painting. Chris and his crew are courteous, they are efficient, organized, timely, and clean. Chris Silva Painting also offers military discounts. At Chris Silva Painting, our mission statement is to bring Christ's heart and principles to our customers and our job sites. We do that with honesty, integrity, and hard work. We don't cut corners, we paint them. CCB number 176097. Chris Silva Painting, 541-890-3960.
Answers with Bayless Conley on the Dove TV.
The root of sin was so deep, and the distance between God and man was so great that nothing short of the blood of God's own Son could remedy the situation.
Pastor and author Bayless Conley is known for his clear presentation of the gospel and the way he applies it to life's changing truths.
We were the sheep that went astray, but he was the lamb that was slaughtered. He suffered for us in our place.
He shares answers he's found years ago when trying to find fulfillment in his own life. After chasing everything imaginable, he discovered true lasting hope exists only in a relationship with Jesus.
I'm going to share a secret with you that if you'll listen and if you'll apply it, it will change your life.
Get answers to life's biggest questions with Bayless Conley, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Dove TV. The Dove has an unexpected expense. Our video switcher must be replaced. Will you prayerfully consider helping to replace this important equipment? Thank you for partnering with the Dove.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, where Jerry Belden shows up and the rest of us hold on.
Good morning.
Good morning. Anyway, good morning to you. A lot going on in the news. A little bit cooler, which we certainly appreciate. And we'll get you to all the news. But I do want to say at the top of the program this morning, thank you to the firefighters out there.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of little fires around. In fact, there's still some out there, and the smoke is kind of in the air this morning. But I took a little walk early this morning when I got here around the building, and the aircraft that's sitting here that was all in the air last night, all of it. There's two King Airs out here, which are the guide planes. Behind that is a 4-engine jet. Next to that is a helicopter. You come right out this door, right out here, there's another 4-engine jet, another 4-engine jet, and a 4-engine turboprop. And on the other side of the field, not one, but two DC-10s.
Amazing.
And they were all flying last night.
You got the full inventory.
Yeah, and I don't know how they're coordinating and collaborating, but I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Because you guys rock. No longer are they just talking about fighting. They're out doing it.
Yeah, and
boy, they're on it.
And when our conditions turn out like this, we end up with all of these aircraft. Where do they keep these things in the off season?
Well, they're what they call contract deals.
Okay.
So they from other airports and other places.
All right.
Okay. And listen, I also don't want to take away from the ground crews that are out there.
Sure, you don't think of that.
The combination of the air attack and the ground, boy, they're just on these things this year, and thank God for what they're doing. You guys rock, rock. The three 4-engine jets, I think they're Neptune Aviation. I think they're out of Washington, if I remember right. Some of the Erickson helicopters are here. But they're different contractors now that have those helicopters. And then the King Airs, I don't know, they're all contract companies.
Yeah, okay.
And the Erickson MB-80 was here for a while. I don't know where it went last night. It was flying around, but it took off and went somewhere else. So. And the two DC-10s, I don't know who have those.
Well, where I live, we don't see much of this activity unless, the fire's on our doorstep. And everything on this one was on the other side of the valley.
Yeah.
But we were at Britt last night, and I saw planes flying around the perimeter, and I thought, man, these guys are working late tonight.
If they had known you were there, they would have dumped on you.
They couldn't have put out
I should have called one of them and said, he's right there. He's 4 rows back. He's got a red hat on. Get him.
They would have had a tough time putting it out because the band that was playing was the California Honey Drops.
Really?
Yeah, oh man, did they honey drop too.
So you brought back what we talked about the other day.
Rock and roll.
You guys were rocking and
rolling. They had
rolling.
a band, the horn section going. They had it going on. They were playing all kinds of great stuff.
Good for you.
Yeah, a lot of people were dancing.
Good for you. So, all right, so let's be honest here. How much sleep you get?
About 3.5 hours
Okay,
sleep. Yeah. Are my eyes open?
Yeah, well, I'll talk to you later.
I'll tell you what.
You have coffee?
Man, did I have coffee this morning all the way in.
Turkey coffee?
Yeah, but you want to know something weird? I still beat my alarm up this morning.
There you go.
You just get so geared.
Yeah, you get nervous.
Like, oh, man. Okay, so anyway, all good, very good stuff. Well, guess what? Guess what today is?
I have no idea.
National Dimples Day.
Really?
National Dimples. And did you know that only 20 to 30% of the entire world's population has dimples? Now, some people possess 2 dimples. A few produce only 1, and that only shows up when smiling. Dimples are considered a genetic trait. Normally, if one person in your family has dimples, it's likely another family member will. But some scientists believe we inherit them, and some people think it's just an anomaly. It just happens, a random trait that some people have. So until more research is available, sharpen them up. Anyway.
Yeah, you got them.
Yeah,
I know. Well, that's good. They're really cute on babies.
On babies,
I didn't.
On babies' butts. You can say babies' butts on Christian TV.
Did you?
Yes, I just did.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. It is National Sugar Cookie Day. We only have one thing to eat. It's normally like a holiday favorite. I don't know why we get it on July 9th, but it honors the ever-popular and delicious sugar cookie on National Sugar Cookie Day. And whether you like your cookie plain or decorated, sugar cookies are a sweet addition to our snack list.
Okay, so the Trail Babes came in.
I love them, yeah.
Okay, and they brought some cookies in, and on looking at them, I thought they had a little touch of peanut butter to them.
Oh, okay.
But they actually are sugar cookies.
Oh.
And normally, when you have cookies, you have 3 or 4 before you start to feel
the sugar.
The sugar.
You don't know.
These.
Oh.
You break one in half.
Yeah.
You're in a food coma in 8 minutes.
Thank you, ladies.
They're really loaded.
Oh, we love it.
Okay.
All right. Hey, do you ever have a portion of the day where you just would like to get away from the noise, the commotion, all that? Just get into a quiet place and just have your time.
Yes, I'm almost tempted now to go in the air conditioning room and close the door and listen to
I got something better for you. Hang on. You need this room. Did you know that the world's quietest room is located at Microsoft's headquarters in Washington State? It is Building 87 of Microsoft headquarters in Redmond, Washington. There lies the quietest room in the world with a record-breaking background noise of 20.35 dBA. This room is 20 decibels below the minimum of human hearing.
You gotta be kidding.
It's so silent that if you stay in it for too long, you'll start hearing your heartbeat, a deafening ringing in your ears, and the grinding of your bones. To achieve absolute silence, the room was constructed with an onion-like structure made of layers of concrete and steel, 6 layers to be exact. And I was reading about this thing. They said that it's difficult to stay in for any period of time. Most humans can't do it. Most people can't do it for more than 15 minutes. The record for staying in this room is 58 minutes.
Well, it could be the room that could fulfill Scripture.
In what way?
Be still and know.
Oh, yes.
Now, I've been in these soundproof rooms, because sometimes you test the. We have them like the pads we have on the wall in the production room. So you can go into this room and test the various density of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I've been in a few of them. Nothing like that. But I tell you, the feeling you get in there, especially if there's no windows.
Okay.
You feel closed in. You feel like you're being squeezed. It's so dead. And if you have any issues with claustrophobia, you're not going to be in there 30 seconds. But if you're in that room and you can hear your heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
So I wonder if you could really hear the voice of God. Could you be still and say, God?
Yeah.
Are you there? Hello.
Is it your heartbeat?
See that? Everybody thinks we just went off the air.
I know. People are changing. Okay, we're back.
Okay, we're back.
All right.
All right, well, he has a heartbeat and a dimple, and he does the weather here.
A look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. With temperatures backing off a couple of notches today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid-upper 70s for Vancouver, Portland, and McMinnville, and near 81 in Wilsonville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with mostly sunny skies and daytime highs in the low 80s for Salem and Albany, near 78 in Corvallis, and 83 in Eugene with a light northwest wind this afternoon. More sunshine across central Oregon with daytime high temperatures in the upper 80s in Prineville and low to mid 80s for Bend and Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny in mid 90s, then a slight chance of thunderstorms. Some spots of patchy fog this morning along the coast, then clearing to sunny to partly sunny and near 70 in Coos Bay, mid 60s for Port Orford, 57 in Brookings, and near 63 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, continued sunshine for the Rogue Valley with daytime highs in the low 90s for Grants Pass and Medford and upper 80s in Ashland. Sunny and breezy in the Klamath Basin with highs in the mid 80s. Into northern California, sunny with a high near 90 in Wairika. Sunny and hot in Redding with a high near 97 and mid 90s for Chico and Sacramento with a south-southeast wind around 5 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then sunny in low 80s in Santa Rosa, becoming sunny in low 80s in Napa, a slight chance of drizzle in San Francisco, then sunny in upper 60s, and today in San Jose, becoming sunny in near 82. It's your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, there we go. There's Southern Oregon this morning, and if you look, you can see some clouds, but you see the smoke?
Yeah.
So I was on earlier looking at the various fires, and there are some still out there. But they are getting them down, and boy, they're holding them down to small amounts.
Yeah.
So God bless these guys. They're really doing it. Everybody on the ground, in the air, whatever, but their attitude about tackling these fires is different. But you can see this, that we are hot and dry. But let me counter that and say today will be cooler.
Yeah, a little bit. But
we welcome that.
Still pretty warm. And we have, more triple digits coming our way, but enjoy it while you have it. Well, some great encouragement now with Pastor Greg Laurie, as he says that what you seek is found in a 2,000-year-old book.
Everybody gets around to asking the big questions of life, such as, what is the meaning of my life? Why am I here on this earth? Why do I exist? And what should my purpose in life be? And that's because as human beings, we all have a desire to make a mark, to achieve something. We want our lives to count for something greater than ourselves. And that's because God wired us that way. We're pre-wired for something more. It goes back to your childhood. You're always wanting that something more. When you're a little kid, it's maybe a toy. Then you get a little older and it changes. What is that expression? The only difference between men and boys is the price of their toys, right? Oh, this relationship will do it, we think. Oh, this degree might do it. Or maybe this house will do it. Or this experience, or whatever it is. And we seek and we search. And that's why people seek after fame. They're saying, I want to be noticed. Listen, you are noticed. You're noticed by God. You're loved by God. And your life can have significance. The Bible says God has put eternity in our hearts. I'll tell you what that is deep down inside of you. You're yearning for God. That's really what you want. You may not have known that. It's God that you're really looking for. So where do you find it? The answer is 2,000 years old. And guess where you find the answer? You find it in this book called the Bible. The Bible. B-I-B-L-E. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. This is the user's manual of life.
Yeah.
Basic instruction before leaving Earth.
Hey, that was quite a venue he was in. That was the Harvest Crusade. He was in Anaheim Stadium, in Angel Stadium.
Yeah.
That was, that's fascinating.
Yeah, he hasn't been doing those crusades lately. I wish he would.
Really?
Yeah, because I still think they have a place. That was Billy Graham's big thing.
Yes.
And for years.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at some of the top stories. This story that broke yesterday is going to be a top story for quite a while. I have no idea where this is going, but it is interesting. The FBI has launched an investigation into the former FBI director, James Comey, and CIA director, John Brennan. Obviously, and this is all over the Trump-Russia probe hoax that took place, the Steele dossier and all that nonsense. We think, well, it's water under the bridge, let's let it go. Why are they bringing this up, especially if Comey has been given immunity? What's going on here? Well, a guy that I think can really help us simplify things is Jonathan Turley, and he was talking about this. He's an attorney. He's a law school professor. Here's what he had to say.
Well, it's obviously a major development. These are two of the top people in the American intelligence system. And there have been these long unanswered questions about what they told Congress. At points, they both seem to adopt the Sergeant Schultz approach of, I knew nothing. If only I knew, I would have done something. That didn't strike many as being very credible. Both of these tend to be somewhat of micromanagers. They take pride in the fact that they followed the details of their departments. And it all comes down particularly to a period in 2017, an intelligence community assessment, an ICA, that went out and viewed the Steele dossier, that infamous dossier funded by the Clinton campaign, as credible. And that, in fact, Steele was credible. They knew that was not true. The CIA had already said that it had great misgivings about the Steele dossier, even though the Clinton campaign was denying to reporters that it funded the dossier. It was, in fact, funded through the law firm of the Clinton that the Clinton campaign used. And so there's a lot of questions here as to why, particularly Comey, for example, signed off on these FISA warrants, these secret court warrants to conduct this surveillance. The other thing, by the way, they knew very early on was that Carter Page, who was such a significant figure in the Steele dossier and the whole Russian hoax, was not only not a Russian spy, but was actually a CIA asset. And so the CIA told the FBI, you're on the wrong road here. You're going after someone who is assisting us. All of that somehow got buried. And what came to the surface was the Steele dossier, which was not only not verified, it had been really shredded by many people in the Intelligence Committee.
So, why this?
Yeah, well,
I think it's a couple of things.
Okay.
We know now that the whole thing was a hoax. But the hoax was done by our intelligent people.
Right.
They were done by federal agencies going after a candidate. Okay, now you can have your problems with Trump all day long. Take him out of the picture. I don't care who it was. You don't have your agencies doing this against a candidate.
Right.
Okay, so that's problem number one. Problem number two is a lot of people within the CIA and the FBI saw the upper crust of their agency be corrupted, and they were told to shut up. And I think that they want to do their job, and they want integrity to return to the agency. So part of this is get to the bottom of the truth. Secondly is it looks like both these gentlemen may have purged themselves.
Yeah.
The initial investigation that their stories don't collaborate, they actually contradict one another. So is that a form of perjury? You know,
well,
and can they be charged with it?
Yeah, if you don't tell Congress the truth, that's perjury.
That's a problem. And so, and then the other thing is that, hopefully integrity can be restored to the agency.
Right, and then on top of all of this stuff that went on with the collusion issue, then we had the Hunter Biden laptop story comes out. It's a credible and a relevant story. And then all these intelligence heads sign a letter saying this is Russian disinformation.
Right.
There's a lot. This is a muddy pool these guys are in.
It really is, and they have a long ways to go to get to the bottom of it. But the fact is that they've uncovered the fact that the whole thing was a collusion against the candidate and President Trump.
Yeah.
So, look, I think both these guys, their reputation is being destroyed, and they have to return integrity and honesty back to the agency. We'll see where this goes, but it looks like this is going to be really messy.
Yeah.
All right, the other story is the flood in Texas. It's just hard to wrap your head around this. Yesterday, I had two people on live from on the scene there, and it's pretty amazing what's happening. And it's 50 miles long.
Right.
And it's hard to wrap your head around how fast this water was coming and what happened. People literally swept away in their RVs, families screaming and going down. The death toll is well over 100 now. Here's Ben Baker. He's a lieutenant colonel with the Texas Game Warden. They're even involved. And here's what he describes as being part of the issue now.
We've got numerous responders with specialized capabilities where we've got these large pile of debris, and with our canines and when we're trying to make these recoveries, these large piles can be very obstructive, and to get deep into these piles it's very hazardous, and those specialized teams have to go in there layer by layer because our first responders, also the safety of them is concerned. So it's extremely treacherous, time consuming, it's dirty work. The water's still there. So we're having to go layer by layer, peeling these off to make those recoveries.
Well, so the first thing that happens when it happens to you, obviously they fly over and they're looking for anybody that they can see initially.
Yeah.
And then as the water recedes, they have to go down to these layers, and you find automobiles or people in them. It's really tough work. I did interview those two guys. I asked a question that was in the news, and I rightfully probably shouldn't have asked that question. It has to do with the warnings and all that.
Yeah.
the bottom line is that the church communities and the faith community, 50 miles long, has really kicked in. These are people who are working day and night to help. And so I just want to say hats off and God bless you guys.
Well, you touched on a good point, too. In fact, I heard an interview on the way in this morning and for somebody who was on the scene there, and they were asked about the warnings as well. And they reacted pretty much the same way that you just recounted in your questions about it. I think they're offended that these discussions are coming from the left as recovery operations are still going on. And in fact, it was mentioned that these conversations were going on during the rescue operations.
Well, that's the point.
Yes.
The point is that everybody's looking for somebody to blame while humans are, clinging to life. So anyway, I learned a lot from that interview to be more sensitive. But
another interesting story I heard about on the way in this morning about one woman who was washed away. She went downriver 20 miles and grabbed the top of a cypress tree limb as she went by, and when the water receded, she was at the top of the cypress tree, and they were able to rescue her. But she was washed downriver 20 miles.
20 miles. The stories are horrific.
Yes.
Another story broke yesterday. As you know, the Supreme Court came down on the lower courts on some of these injunctions against the president's management, and another one came down yesterday. The Supreme Court yesterday cleared the way for President Trump's plans to downsize the federal workforce, despite warnings that critical government services would be lost. The justices overrode the Supreme Court, the lower court's order that temporarily froze the cuts, which have been led by the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. So in other words, the president can go ahead and act like the executive that he is and cut the size of government down because we can't afford it.
Right.
And so that's where that's going.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
The critics of the president who say he has no authority to downsize the government, we're going to take this to the courts. Who do they believe has that authority?
Well, see, isn't it interesting? When it comes to funding them, they have to get it through Congress.
Right.
But when it comes to managing them and downsizing them, that's an executive decision. That's why you have an executive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. And our country is on the edge of bankruptcy. This is what you do to turn the ship around.
Yeah.
So anyway, don't get me going. And then the other one is, in Idaho last week we witnessed a horrific event where somebody set a field on fire. Here comes the firemen to put the fire out, and it was an ambush, and they shot and killed 2 fire people. Well, now the attempt at that happened to ICE people in Texas. Poor Texas has got a lot of issues going on. 10 people were arrested for taking a part in a planned ambush on ICE detention facility in Texas and faced charges including attempted murder of federal officers, according to the records but they tried to ambush federal ICE people at this detention center, and they caught them. Well, they're going to have to throw the book at them.
Yeah.
Okay, but this Tom Holman, who's the he's the border czar, he's actually said, look, expect more of this. So this is crazy, but this is the crazy world we live in. But they stopped it. So anyway, okay, that's what's going on right here in River City.
Yeah.
Dimples and sugar cookies.
And sugar cookies, enjoy.
Your side, and don't go thinking you're the only one that can get it right. Yeah, you got my love.
Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
Hellgate Jetboat Excursions is throwing it back every Thursday. Book one quick and scenic excursion at regular price and get the second ticket for only $19.59 every Thursday. Glide inches above the river, see the native wildlife, and experience the majestic views of the legendary Hellgate Canyon. Don't miss the best of the Pacific Northwest with our 2-hour excursion. It's Throwback Thursday all season long with our buy one, get one for $19.59. Call 541-479-7204 to book. Some restrictions apply. Visit hellgate.com for details.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Well, good morning to you. Well, listen, just a little backyard, really appreciation right here in our own backyard. The homeless thing is it's such a mystery to me in so many ways, and I realize that great people have looked at it a little bit more analytically. The groups of people who find themselves homeless and all this and that. And here in Southern Oregon, at least along the Bear Creek, they've done a pretty good job of managing that. Yeah. Other cities, it's been overrun by it. Well, here in our own backyard, I just want to say thank you to the Maslow Project. They've created a new way to serve people, and they put together a service van, kind of a homeless service van and homeless service nonprofit organization, as Maslow's been doing. And this is where in Jackson and Josephine County, they can receive now applying for jobs, housing, and other services without having to visit an office. So they're taking this facility, a mobile van, places where they are, and then begin to work with them to give them a hand up and out, so to speak, and work with them. So I just want to say, great idea, super idea, and thank you for doing it. I think this is can really help a lot, where we are not only describing the problem and say somebody ought to do something about it. Yeah. They're actually doing something about it. So I want to say to the Maslow Project, thank you for what you're doing. This is a good sign. All right, let's take a look at Wall Street for a Wednesday. Thank you, Preston at Smart Lawn. He's smart, and you would be too if you call him. Let's see, the Dow's up 230 points today. The Nasdaq's up 209. And the S&P up 41, almost 42 points. So some good charge of green ink there this morning. Look at that number, 44,474. That did push gold down a few pennies, but not much, 33.07. Silver is back to 36.63, and crude oil kind of hanging in there where it's been, $67.10 a barrel.
So what's going on with the Epstein list?
Well, I listened to a conservative talk show yesterday. Yeah? I was driving around. I don't normally listen to these guys because they're stupid.
Tell us how you really feel. Okay. Yeah, I get
and they're
it.
supposedly conservative.
Yeah.
They were raking Bondi over the coals on this issue. Yeah. And I'm going, really? So I don't know what the answer to this one is.
It's weird because we kind of had all these promises that we're going to find out, we're going to know what's going on, and then all of a sudden, is it being swept under the carpet?
It's appearing to be, yes. Now, whether it stays under the carpet, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, the president and Attorney General Pam Bondi responded to questions about Jeffrey Epstein during a cabinet meeting. Let's listen.
Can I ask the Attorney General a question too, President? Sure. Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the staff?
Yeah, sure. If
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Okay, so I don't know why it can't be more conclusive. It's a little bit of a mystery. It will more come out. Now, a couple things there. Nobody wants to see these films.
No, I agree, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So there's two questions that remain.
What?
Question number one, did Epstein commit suicide? And how do you do that in a federal prison? He supposedly hung himself.
Apparently.
Okay.
Yeah.
And according to Kash Patel and Pam Bundy, that the evidence supports suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the other one is the client list.
Yeah.
Why can't it be released?
Right.
No answer to that.
Yeah, good question. And if not a client list, how about flight logs?
Yes.
I mean, flight logs are very indicative of, what was going on. Who's flying where, how many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the law of sooner or later the statute runs out where they can...
Oh, statute of limitations?
Statute of limitations, but where they actually can grab this information and make it public. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time.
Yes.
It's a matter of time. Now, why they're sitting on it, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
When I listen to these other talk shows pull this thing apart, I'm going, oh boy, you guys are really in deep water here, because this is not good. You're being so stinking cynical, whoever wants to listen to you. But secondly is, give this thing some time and space. Can you imagine? First of all, the first set of evidence she got was nothing. The second thing she got was boxes of stuff. Okay, and it has to be put together.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I think there's some legitimate concerns. Why aren't they becoming more transparent? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I know that Jerry's here, and he likes sugar cookies. Were you born with a dimple? Mom? Was he? No, the one in the front. We'll be right back.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538. Black Flag Armory offers top brand affordable rifles, shotguns, handguns, and gear. We also offer an array of classes emphasizing safety, self-defense, and accuracy. We strive to provide the absolute best possible experience when buying a firearm. Family friendly for every skill level, Black Flag Armory in Medford and Grants Pass. Online at blackflagarms.com or 541-499-0779. 541-499-0779.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Have you seen Mornings on the Dove?
They're trying to track down what and how did the auto pen of former President Joe Biden was used? And did the president ever give the order? This is serious stuff. The legacy media reporting the bombing in Iran was low effect. The sites were obliterated. They were gone. You got to ask yourself the question, why are you doing this?
News with a little bit of common sense. Mornings on the Dove, weekdays 6 to 8 a.m.
Well, good morning to you. 25 minutes before the hour, and with all the other things going on in the Middle East, is still very got a lot of tension over there. And as you know, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump met. We saw a little bit before the meeting. We saw nothing after the meeting. Right. So let's check in with CBN Newswatch and find out what's going on.
This is CBN Newswatch.
And we begin with the ceasefire talks for the war in Gaza as Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump meet in a closed-door session. Those talks taking place as Israel is keeping up its attacks on Hamas. Chuck Holton has our report.
Prime Minister Netanyahu met with President Trump at the White House Tuesday night. The focus, the return of hostages in Gaza.
We have still to finish the job in Gaza, release all our hostages, eliminate and destroy Hamas's military and governance capabilities, because Gaza must have a different future for our sake, for everyone's sake.
He also pointed to recent joint U.S.-Israel strikes on Iranian targets, calling them a turning point for the region.
First comes strength, then comes the peace. Our resolute action, the resolute decision of President Trump to act with us against those who seek to destroy Israel and threaten the peace of the world has made a remarkable change in the Middle East.
Meanwhile, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation continues its large-scale effort to feed civilians inside the war zone. The group was launched in February to counter widespread food shortages after Hamas hijacked and resold international aid to finance its war effort. Other efforts, such as the U.S.-backed floating pier, largely failed. The GHF, largely funded by the U.S. and backed by Israel, is operating despite opposition from the United Nations, which has made allegations that the IDF killed civilians seeking aid. An IDF investigation found one civilian was accidentally killed while troops were trying to control a chaotic crowds that are frequently infiltrated by Hamas operatives. Over the weekend, terrorists threw grenades at a food distribution center, injuring 2 American aid workers. Despite the dangers, GHF has successfully distributed more than 65 million meals to Gaza civilians so far. As political pressure and battlefield costs converge, the focus is now on Washington and Doha to see whether diplomacy can deliver what everyone hopes for: a lasting resolution. From Jerusalem, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Thank you, Chuck. And our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now here again in the studio. Yeah. It's so good to see you, Chris. Well, Chris, let's get right into it. Is Hamas trying to intimidate Palestinians from using the food from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GHF? And does Hamas see the GHF as a threat?
Yeah, very much, Wendy. Since the very beginning of the war, and when humanitarian aid was going in, sometimes by the hundreds of truckloads and literally hundreds and thousands of tons of food, they have been stealing that food and using it for their own purposes. First of all, sometimes they stockpile it, and they have been using it for their own fighters, and they've been using it as a way to control the population. So now the GHF has come in since February, and we were there at the very beginning with a news conference with Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Personally, when I heard the news of this new foundation, I wasn't sure of the impact, but it's really had a profound impact on what's going on in Gaza. So now Hamas has an alternative, or the people of Gaza have an alternative food source away from Hamas. So this undermines Hamas's ability to control the population, to sell the food, to make more money. And now, so the GHF is really a mortal threat to Hamas's control over the Gaza Strip.
So why is the UN against the GHF? You'd think they would be great. You feel great about feeding people.
Exactly. You would think that would be exactly what they want. But it also undermines their authority. It's UNRWA and other UN organizations that tragically we have found since October 7th have been in cahoots with Hamas, that many of the UNRWA employees have actually been part of Hamas. So it seems to undermine their ability to control the population and to have their say. So it undermines their authority as well.
Chris, Netanyahu says Israel must finish the job against Hamas. How can that be reconciled with an attempt at a temporary ceasefire?
Well, because Hamas, it's very hard to reconcile that, because what Hamas wants is they want an end to the war. They want a permanent ceasefire. They want to survive the war. And those goes exactly diametrically opposed to what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just said in Chuck's report, that they want to make sure that Hamas is defeated militarily, and they want to make sure that Hamas never has the ability to govern the Gaza Strip anymore. And so what we're seeing now is a very difficult time to reconcile these two opposite positions. It's a very hard time for Steve Witkoff to square the circle, as some people say, to make sure that the ceasefire can be achieved so some of these hostages can be released, but that Israel can still continue its goals of the war.
Very delicate. Yeah, all right, let's check out the weather with a guy that's also kind of delicate.
A look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. With temperatures backing off a couple of notches, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid-upper 70s for Vancouver, Portland, and McMinnville, and near 81 in Wilsonville. Continuing down the Willamette Valley with mostly sunny skies and daytime highs in the low 80s for Salem and Albany, near 78 in Corvallis, and 83 in Eugene with a light northwest wind this afternoon. More sunshine across central Oregon with daytime high temperatures in the upper 80s in Prineville and low to mid 80s for Bend and Sun River. Over in Boise, Idaho, sunny in mid 90s, then a slight chance of thunderstorms. Some spots of patchy fog this morning along the coast, then clearing to sunny to partly sunny and near 70 in Coos Bay, mid 60s for Port Orford, 57 in Brookings, and near 63 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, continued sunshine for the Rogue Valley with daytime highs in the low 90s for Grants Pass and Medford and upper 80s in Ashland. Sunny and breezy in the Klamath Basin with highs in the mid 80s. Into northern California, sunny with a high near 90 in Wairika. Sunny and hot in Redding with a high near 97 and mid 90s for Chico and Sacramento with a south-southeast wind around 5 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, patchy fog, then sunny in low 80s in Santa Rosa, becoming sunny in low 80s in Napa, a slight chance of drizzle in San Francisco, then sunny in upper 60s, and today in San Jose, becoming sunny in near 82. It's your Wednesday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, a beautiful shot of southern Oregon. Drive and be careful. Drive safely, but be careful. It's high and dry and hot and dry, at least a little cooler, but it's still very dry. And an evening of firefighting that's unlike anything I've seen in a long time. So still some smoke in the air. If you step outside, you can smell a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And so thank you to all of those who were out full force last night. Thank you, guys.
Well, they were out in full force last night. When do they get going again today? Well, how do they do that?
That's a good question. I don't know the strategy and the management of it. I don't know if some of it has to do with air density.
Okay.
Because you're dealing with airplanes that are got some fuel on it and got fire retardant, and then you got air density, and they can only fly so far, so fast, with so much weight.
Yeah.
All that has to be taken into consideration.
I just saw a real dramatic video on Facebook. I was looking at a drop right off of I-5. It must have been outside Ashland or something. Yeah. And here's the cars going on the freeway, and here's this big tanker coming in.
Yeah.
And all the red comes up and pulls away. It's very dramatic.
I talked to one of the guys that was flying one of the DC-6.
Yeah.
They don't fly those anymore, thank God.
Oh.
But he basically said this: if I don't dump my load, I don't come home.
What does that mean?
When they come down and they're going to go down and then pull up and dump the load.
Right.
If they don't dump it, there's so much weight it'll take the wing right off the airplane.
No kidding.
They have to dump.
Whoa.
You know.
Whoa.
But that was in the DC-6. These things out here, some of these guys actually make 1 or 2 runs at it because they dump a little bit and they come around dump a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is the oldest and most prestigious. It's going on right now, and the very first one took place on this day in history.
On July 9, 1877, a small club on the outskirts of London made history. The All England Croquet and Lawn Tennis Club hosted its very first lawn tennis tournament, what we now know as Wimbledon. 21 amateurs competed in only one event, the gentlemen's singles, with a 25 guinea trophy on the line. The sport itself had evolved from a medieval French handball game called jeu de paume to indoor real tennis and eventually to lawn tennis played outdoors on grass. Originally a croquet club, the All England Club embraced tennis's rising popularity. They published the tournament invite in the Field magazine and created formal rules, many of which still exist today, like the 78 by 27 foot court and the quirky scoring 15, 30, 40 game. The first tournament paused midweek for a cricket match, and the final was even rained out, another soon-to-be Wimbledon tradition. When play resumed, W. Spencer Gore dominated the final, winning in just 48 minutes before 200 paying spectators. In 1884, Wimbledon added the ladies' singles and men's doubles. Mixed and women's doubles followed in 1913. By the early 1900s, it had gone from a local event to a global phenomenon. Today, Wimbledon remains the only major tournament still played on grass, held every summer, just as it began nearly 150 years ago.
Okay, and it's going on right now.
Yeah.
You can watch it, and we're of course we're tennis fans, and we just love it. Peggy plays a lot of tennis, or used to, but it's really great. It's you know what? They still have a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has to dress in white.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, and I was just telling Jerry, when you look at the beginning of that, there they are out there in their dresses and their hats and their umbrellas and all that. You know, the English snob is attractive. You don't want it to go away.
I think that's one of the reasons we're so enamored with the Royals.
I
too.
love the Royals.
Yeah,
I think the Royals ought to stay in place forever. I think the whole thing is just really cool to watch. You know, I don't understand all the protocols. You learn it. But anyway.
Hey, do you know what kind of grass they play on? What is that?
Well, it's grass, but it's highly bred for that.
Okay.
And they're out there all night long because you can see the wear out spots, because by the end of Wimbledon it's all worn out in certain areas. They're out there at night, they're just delicately trying to put it back, and they water it and they brush it up all night long, you know.
You know, we'd play lawn tennis at my place too if we could find a lawn.
No, we call that pasture golf. Then you just got to be careful where you're stepping.
That's perfect.
Pasture golf's a lot of fun. And you have to play the ball, by the way.
Okay.
That's the whole thing about pasture golf.
Right?
Yeah. So if the ball lands, and if it's in a, you got to play it.
No winter rules.
No. Okay. There's no mulligans out there. All right. Jack Hibbs, we like Jack Hibbs, and he continues on with the incredible hand of God in the founding of America.
My good friend, I love this guy. I feel like I know him. Samuel Adams. He says, I recommend my soul to that almighty being who gave it, and my body I commit to the dust, relying upon the merits of Jesus Christ for the pardon of all my sins. Boy, that's pretty clear, isn't it? Samuel Adams, father of the American Revolution, signer of the Declaration of Independence. From his last will and testament, John Adams, his cousin, said, poor Sam Adams, he was born a rebel. He tried to preach a sermon, graduated from Harvard University, tried to preach his first sermon. His father said the sermon was so terrible, he said, Sam, you've got to do something else than ever occupy a pulpit. Little did he know that God had him to be really the birth founder of this nation in many ways. Sam Adams again went on to say this, we have appealed to heaven. That's where, remember the flags earlier this year? Remember the banners and the stickers? We have appealed to heaven for the justice of our cause, and in heaven we have placed our trust. Numerous have been the manifestations of God's providence in sustaining us, we have been reduced to distress, and the arm of omnipotence has raised us up. Let us still rely in humble confidence on him who is mighty to save. Good tidings will soon arrive. We shall never be abandoned by heaven while we act worthy of its aid and protection. Sam Adams. Remarkable.
Well, the pulpits of America need to be on fire with those quotes.
Yeah, I agree. But I didn't realize Sam Adams kind of fizzled out in the pulpit.
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah, you would think that.
Well, there's no monument to him.
That's true. But you would think, too, you know, God has called me into something and then it fizzles out like that. You think, did I follow the right call?
Okay, I wish I had time to say.
Oh, I wish you did too.
Yeah, because there's a story in the Bible that relates to that. It's when, I'll just give you a brief.
All right.
When Jesus was finally crucified and the disciples thought, we blew it. Why didn't he save himself? We blew it. And so what did they do? They quit the ministry and went back to fishing.
Right, yeah. Peter did that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going fishing.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
And even at fishing, he failed.
True.
And then Jesus said, put your nets on the other side. You can't even fail without God.
Yeah. Excellent point. Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So he thought he failed, and God used him.
All right.
Okay, that's my sermon.
All right.
Hey, we'll be right back, I think. We'll try.
When you get lonely, no, I'll never leave your side. And don't go thinking you're the only one.
Will you prayerfully consider helping the Dove with, quite frankly, an unexpected expense? We have to replace our main switcher here at the Dove TV. Now, we weren't expecting that or budgeted for it, but the manufacturer now no longer supports this unit. To replace it's about $47,500. So we're asking you to prayerfully consider supporting us and only do what the Lord is leading you to do. Feel free to give us a call or go online. And please know that together, we really are changing lives for good.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Grange Co-op, where big ideas grow.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox, air is life. Make it perfect.
Experience evangelism like never before. Way of the Master, an award-winning reality TV show tackling hard questions in bold street witnessing that will leave you inspired. Watch Thursdays and Fridays on the Dove TV.
8 minutes before the top of the hour, much has been said about near-death experiences.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of interesting. There seems to be some similarities to them. Is it real? Well, Lee Strobel, he's one of, his own story of conversion is amazing. And he and Kirk Cameron, he was on the Kirk Cameron show, and they were talking about this. And let's kind of join the conversation and see what happens here.
When you look at the scientific literature, what's interesting is, for instance, these near-death experiences we talked about, there have been 900 scholarly articles published in peer-reviewed scientific medical journals over the last 50 years. This is a well-studied subject. Deathbed visions have been studied. There have been tens of thousands of them have been studied by professors at Harvard and Cambridge and Oxford universities. So these are well studied. And so there's a famous Dutch cardiologist who's an expert on near-death experiences. And he published in peer-reviewed secular scientific journals analyses of these near-death experiences and documented that there is no alternative explanation that can account for these. You might say, oh, maybe it's a lack of oxygen at death that makes people conjure up. Yeah. No, they don't. They're able to demonstrate that manifests itself this way, but near-death experiences are like this. They're not hallucinations and so forth. So they're not dreams and so forth. So we have scientific analysis of these things. Not only that, but there are 47 points of correspondence and consistency between the Bible and near-death experiences and deathbed visions. 47 points of correspondence. And John Burke, who's a Christian pastor who studied 1,000 near-death experiences, and who I interview for my book, says that when you study not how people interpret their near-death experience, because people interpret it through their worldview, set that aside. What actually takes place during a near-death experience, it is consistent with Scripture. That's pretty powerful. So I think, when people are skeptical, I want to say to them, have you looked into it? Have you studied the scientific literature? Have you read The Lancet, the Journal of Medicine in England about cases like this? Have you studied cases of miracles that are documented and so forth? And most people haven't. They raise skeptical objections, but I encourage them to do the research I did, because I started as a skeptic. I thought near-death experience was a new agey thing. And then I see people like Gary Habermas and J.P. Moreland, two prominent Christian philosophers who've written about this going back to the 1990s. And I say, wait a minute, maybe they know something I don't know. And the more I dig into it and I see it's consistent with Scripture, the more convinced I become.
Fascinating.
It is. I've interviewed a couple people, and I had the testimony of one over the weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know the person very, very well. And it's life-changing.
Oh, yeah.
There are some similarities. But when you listen to somebody who has had this experience, who otherwise their personality wouldn't support such an explanation.
Yes.
It is pretty amazing. And I was stunned.
Oh, yeah.
And this person's life is rocked by it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man.
All right, Matthew 7:7. Great scripture for you today. Ask, and it will be given. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. Now, the interesting thing about those three verbs requires action on your part. Okay. Stick around. We'll be right back.
All over my life, all over my life. Help me remember.
Will you prayerfully consider helping the Dove with, quite frankly, an unexpected expense? We have to replace our main switcher here at the Dove TV. Now, we weren't expecting that or budgeted for it, but the manufacturer now no longer supports this unit. To replace it's about $47,500. So we're asking you to prayerfully consider supporting us and only do what the Lord is leading you to do. Feel free to give us a call or go online. And please know that together, we really are changing lives for good.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express, breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Since 1987, Four Seasons Nursery has been the gold standard in the green industry here in Southern Oregon. Tim Elbert and his friendly staff continue to offer the best plants and most accurate knowledge to create your dream landscape. At Four Seasons Nursery on Crater Lake Avenue, you can let your imagination run wild with a huge selection of all things plant and gardening for both inside and outside beautification. Whether it's a flower for your window seal, one of our beautifully renowned signature hanging baskets, or a complete landscape design for your entire property, Four Seasons Nursery can help you every step of the way with design services, workshops, and more. Let your imagination run wild as you immerse yourself in their nursery filled with beauty that knows no bounds. Four Seasons Nursery, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 1/2 mile north of Vilas Road, 541-779-5603, 541-779-5603.
I began to talk about divorce. It was my answer. In hindsight, I really lived in the darkness, and I didn't like the light that she represented. I said, God, I don't know if you're listening. I said, but if it's your desire for me to learn to love my wife, then I want to learn to love her like you love her and see her like you see her. And I said, amen. The next morning when I woke up, everything had changed.
Wednesday on the 700 Club, right here on the Dove TV. The Dove has an unexpected expense. Our video switcher must be replaced. Will you prayerfully consider helping to replace this important equipment? Thank you for partnering with the Dove.
Okay, welcome back and welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. The headlines today, well, they're all consuming and there is a lot to talk about. And I always have great joy in talking with our good friend, Megan Barth. Megan is quite the person. She's an independent journalist. She's in the know. She's everywhere. She's the only person I know that puts jalapeno on her cereal and sugar in her coffee.
Add a little Tabasco on top of it. We got a sundae.
How are you?
I'm great, Perry. How are you doing?
Okay. Well, a lot to talk to you about. So, Comey and Brennan back in the news, under investigation. Wow. Do you know offhand, Megan, if both of them were given any kind of an immunity, or are they free to go for this?
I don't remember seeing them in the auto pen dump of all of the pardons, unless Biden somehow adopted them and made them his sons. I don't believe they are subject or protected by a pardon. What I find curious about this leaked investigation is I've been involved in investigations. I'm an investigative reporter. I've worked undercover all over the place. You don't announce that you're having an investigation. You keep the investigation under wraps. You don't show your hand. And so I'm a little skeptical as to this announcement of an investigation of two horrible bad actors that undermined, as Democrats would call it, our democracy, and really started the impeachment, if you will, when Trump came down the golden escalator and announced his presidency. They were hell-bent on creating, fake dossiers, spreading misinformation, using the press as their lackeys to do so. And, should they be on an investigation? Yes. But do I want to hear about it in the front page news on Fox News? No.
That's an interesting point. So do you have any idea why they announced it?
I think because they needed to take away the anger from many in the MAGA movement, from the announcement of AG Pam Bondi and President Trump that and the FBI, et cetera, of the Jeffrey Epstein case. That's my personal opinion. I think they needed to diffuse that news, diffuse the anger and the noise and the blowback around that announcement related to Epstein, that there is no there.
Okay, that is interesting. Never connected those dots. That's why you're here. That's very, very interesting. Two of those big stories breaking at the same time. But I want to stay with the Brennan Comey thing just for a moment. Don't you think it's worth investigating?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, Brennan, well, let's just go back to Brennan, a very powerful deep state saboteur, CIA, voted for a communist for president, and has dirt. If you remember Clapper, James Clapper should be under investigation as well, and I hope he is. But he admitted that he unwittingly, he and the cabal, if you will, that includes Comey, that includes Clapper, that includes others, that they unwittingly spied on elected politicians, and specifically Republicans. So if they were spying and getting away, looking at their private communications, looking at their email communications, basically bugging offices, if you will, bugging computers, gathering as much dirt as they would need, or even to create dirt on those that they deemed a threat to their omnipotence, their power. So, yes, I do think that they should be under investigation. And I believe that Comey lied to the American people. He lied to Congress. They're on record lying to Congress, making conflicting statements. And so that right there doesn't really require more investigation, except looking at the tapes and then
Okay. So one other question here. What is it about then candidate Trump that so frightened them that they had to do this to stop from him getting elected? What is it about that person that they would go to this extent to try to interrupt his candidacy?
He was the single greatest threat to their power. He was the single greatest threat to their power. He wasn't an insider. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't even selected by the GOP. He came. He was a threat to the GOP. He was a threat, to Mitch McConnell, to the Bush dynasty, to the Clinton dynasty. He was not supposed to beat Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was their savior. It was the deep state's savior. It was Comey and Clapper and Brennan's savior. They did everything they could in order to protect her. If you recall, even the FBI, I think it was pre-Comey, lost her laptop. Come on.
With a cloth.
Right. Yeah. She cleaned it with a cloth, and then she sent it in, and then it got lost in the mail.
Yeah.
And so he was the number one threat. He was going to tip their apple cart. He was going to expose the deep state. He campaigned against the deep state. He was talking about the deep state. I think he coined the term, quite frankly, in politics, the deep state.
Yeah.
So they were his target, and therefore he became theirs.
Okay, so the other headline is the Epstein story, and it came up in the cabinet meeting yesterday, which is so interesting. And before Attorney General Bondi could respond, the president interrupted her and said, "Why are you guys talking about this? And are you talking about Epstein, the bad guy, and all this and that?" So the question does remain. I think it boils down to two things. Number one, have they clearly proved that he committed suicide? And number two, why can't the client list be released?
Well, supposedly there is no client list now.
Well, there's flight logs.
Well, right. I mean, there was something called the Lolita Express. He had multiple homes. And let's not forget, this also goes back to Comey, but someone named Maureen Comey, the daughter of James Comey. She was the leading prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. She's the one that originally brought these charges. But what I found most interesting, in this investigation, they didn't raid any of his houses except for one. And the one that they raided was in New York. He had a ranch in Texas that no one talks about. He had the island, that the Lolita Express went to. He had a flat in Italy. and I think he had another property somewhere. But they didn't seem to raid any of that, or at least we don't know about it. So I think that the kind of the mop up or the cleanup was very early on. They simply took him down because he probably did have a ton of blackmail on some very powerful people, both domestically and internationally. I've also heard reports that he was affiliated with the CIA since his 30s, and he worked very closely with the Israeli government, the Mossad. So, I don't know honestly what to believe when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, but I do believe that the FBI and Pam Bondi only had what they had that was provided to them by the prior administration. And we already know that between probably November, when Trump was reelected, or a second time elected, to January, they had a lot of time to do a lot of cleaning.
Why wouldn't she say that? That she was. She got a lot more information than she had initially. She got boxes full, but what you just said, it wasn't complete. Why doesn't she bring that forward?
It wasn't complete.
Yeah.
I don't think it was complete. I do remember reading maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago, that the FBI, led by Kash Patel, found that there was a whole separate kind of 7th floor FBI unit that was working outside of the purview they were working under the director, but it wasn't known, right? It was like this whole clandestine operation within the FBI. And they were, hitting roadblocks when they were trying to dig in and find, personnel files, investigations that were opened and have suddenly just, the contents have disappeared. So you only know what you know, and you only have what you have, right? So whatever has been given to them or passed on to this administration is incomplete at best and destroyed at worst.
So do you think the handling of this, Megan, is going to hurt the Trump base? It doesn't seem to be complete. It almost seems to be that they're deliberately withholding information. That's not going over well. So what do they do to fix this?
The Trump base we're quite a cast of characters, aren't we? Quite the motley crew. But that's what you get when you have a big tent. I mean, Trump won a mandate. He pulled in a ton of different, not only demographics, but people, libertarians, Democrats, Republicans, independents, people that have never voted before. And we've got, very loud and, influencers, I hate that word, influencers that have been riding the coattails of his presidency and aren't always loyal. Yet, I don't think that anyone should be loyal to the president necessarily, of course, unless you're in the administration. But, my job as a journalist is to hold people in power accountable. And I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. But pulling the base together is hurting cats. What I think, and I think a lot of this is noise right now, and I think some of it's justified, especially when it comes to Epstein. There's a lot of questions. But what Trump can do is continue to operate above the noise and deliver his agenda to the American people and turn this country around. Because when you have a booming economy, when you have safety and security, that's what people are going to be talking about, and that's what people vote for. Yeah. These controversies, these conspiracies, and I don't like to call them conspiracies, but they're controversial and they're conspiratorial. Will fade into the background, but there will be people that will hold on to these like pit bulls on a bone.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. All right, let me switch your attention. The president won a big one yesterday where the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can go ahead and cut jobs out of the government. This is huge. He's slowly winning these things. And what's interesting, even the Supreme Court came down, as you well know, and went after these lower courts' injunctions, except for the other day where the federal court tried to defund Planned Parenthood in the big bill as being funded through Medicaid. Where does that go?
Well, two points I'd like to make. Just going back to the Supreme Court and their ruling, which there was one dissent. Did you notice who dissented? And that was Justice Ketanji Brown. And in her dissent, it read that they really don't know what's going on the ground. So they're really not aware of what's going on the ground. Well, that's not your job, bro. Your job is to interpret the law, okay, and then determine, specific to this case, whether or not the president has the executive authority and he was operating within his executive authority to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
She can't seem to wrap her mind around that. She always has to make these very pointed political statements within her opinion. But that aside, we've now got a TRO, which the district court judge, I believe she's out of San Francisco. I believe she's a Clinton appointee. We have another rogue district federal court judge that has defined the Supreme Court and creates a TRO out of thin air, does not apply any sort of reasoning behind that TRO. And so now it's up to the Trump administration to file an emergency appeal, which will go to the Supreme Court.
Okay. I think you're right. Eventually that gets overturned.
But I was under the impression, and forgive me because maybe I'm wrong here and someone can straighten me out, under the Hyde Act, which has existed for decades, taxpayer dollars are not supposed to be going to fund abortions.
Right.
So how all of a sudden are my tax dollars now wrapped up into Medicaid abortions?
Well,
Medicaid.
Yeah, that's the big mystery. Good point. Excellent point. One other quick thing before I take a break. Your quick comment on what's happening in New York, and Cuomo got beat by a socialist.
Aye.
And Adams could get reelected as an independent. What does that tell you?
Well, I think people in New York are sick and tired of the spiraling crime, the drug use, and the illegal aliens that have flooded, their boroughs. But then on the flip side of that, and this isn't going to be a quick comment, so maybe we can talk about the communists that won the Democrat primary.
A little over. Let me take a break. Gather your thoughts. Let me come back. Let me take a quick break. I want to hear what she has to say. Megan Barth with us, investigative independent journalist. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The Dove has an unexpected expense. Our video switcher must be replaced. It's an important device and will cost $47,500. Will you prayerfully consider helping with this expense? Thank you for partnering with the Dove.
Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why, McKelly's, it's automotive service with a heart for God and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond, but that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
Life has many challenges. When you need answers, theDove.us is here with encouragement, videos, news, and information to restore, renew, and point you to what matters most. Turn to theDove.us, encouraging and informative.
Welcome back. Always a joy to have with us Megan Barth. She's a independent investigative journalist. Always fun to have her because her perspective, well, she actually teaches me things. Anyway, we're talking about what's going on with New York. The Democrats have literally elected in their primary a socialist, communist. The current mayor has left the Democratic Party. He's now running as an independent. And in the middle of all this, Cuomo tried to come back, and he basically got his hat handed to him. So what's happening in New York?
Well, that's a kind of a loaded question, but, they have imported the third world. And when you import the third world, specifically the third world that are takers and not makers, you get an electorate of takers. And that's exactly what New York has right now, is an electorate of takers, an electorate that is dependent on government because they came from socialist countries. And now they can demand the best benefits, quite frankly, in the world. I've been watching TikTok videos and, Twitter or X, and, you see, people abusing on a daily basis Medicaid, food stamps, housing vouchers, et cetera, and the list goes on and on. They are living better, illegal aliens specifically in New York. And let's remember that illegal aliens can vote in New York. Illegal aliens are making thousands of dollars a month, and they're also being provided free housing. But they're making thousands of dollars a month in benefits. And, when you start, and I don't mean to make a direct correlation here, but if you, for example, go to a wildlife preserve, or you go to a national park, or you go to a zoo, there's a sign that says don't feed the animals. And the reason you don't feed the animals is because they become dependent. And that's exactly what the Democrat Party continually and has always advocated for, is dependence on government. And with Biden's open borders, you now have tens of millions of people that were let in from the third world, tens of millions of takers. It wasn't like we were importing or allowing the invasion of nuclear scientists across our southern border. The next Newton is not going to be found, in the caravans. And you did have countries like Venezuela emptying their prisons and sending them over here through Tren de Aragua. So this is what New York has. They've created this dependency state. They have also imported, and if you look at the videos, tens of thousands of Muslims who have not assimilated. In fact, they're marching for Hamas on the streets of New York. And it'll be a very interesting race to watch. And what I find also very interesting is that the Democrats, whether it's Kathy Hochul or, Hakeem Jeffries or whoever from New York, is coming out and defending Kami Bandami. Oh, he's not a communist, but he just quoted the Communist Manifesto. Oh, he's not a Marxist. Well, he just quoted Karl Marx. Please don't tell me I'm not seeing what I'm seeing with my own two eyes.
Yeah.
And hearing with my own two ears. And that's what the Democrats are trying to convince us, that he's some sort of, moderate.
Yeah.
When he talks about nationalizing the bodegas. The bodegas and the bodega owners, the small business owners, are going to be the ones that are first crushed under the hands of socialism.
Yeah.
Especially when they take over the bodegas.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's just an oddity, to say the least. The president spoke very firmly about that, but we'll see does he stick his nose in this election. I think at the end of the day, President Trump still loves New York and would like to see it, and wants to see it saved, if I can put it that way, and preserved.
We all do. We all should. We all should want New York saved. I don't obviously live in New York. I have no relatives in New York. I have no personal affiliation or connection to New York. But as an American, New York is one of the most important international cities.
Yeah.
And to allow this city to be taken over by a publicly admitted, basically, socialist and Marxist, hopefully President Trump and others can do everything they can to stop that hostile takeover, because that's what it is.
Well, we want to see New York saved. We want to see San Francisco restored. We want to see Portland, Oregon restored. We want to see Seattle saved.
LA.
There's a pattern there that's pretty obvious.
Isn't it?
Yeah. All right. A couple of other things. The other day, quite the powwow at the White House with President Trump and his team. And across the table was Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his team. I always find it interesting that before these big powwows occur, the president always allows the press in to ask any question they may want. So, I mean, he's been pretty transparent with all that. But in the middle of that, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stands up and hands President Trump a letter nominating for the Nobel Peace Prize. I thought, well, okay, I'd like to know what the Megan Barth take is on that because, well, what's your take on that?
Well, President Trump in my lifetime has probably been one of the most active presidents in the Middle East, with the Abraham Accords, with moving the embassy to Jerusalem, with negotiating a peace deal between Hamas and Israel, between Pakistan and India, and the list goes on and on. And then, of course, we've got Ukraine and Russia still fighting, and President Trump says, well, we're going to have to send them some defensive weapons, which is quite an about-face. I think we need to stop sending weapons, period. And they've got plenty. They've got plenty of money to buy their own weapons, our money. But I think from a Middle East perspective and from an Israeli perspective, and just from a foreign policy perspective, President Trump has led with peace through strength. So he showed the strength. He has publicly declared that, no one wants, well, except for the war machine, no one wants war. And we don't want to be dragged into another international conflict like we were in the Middle East and Afghanistan, et cetera. So I think that if any president in my lifetime deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, it certainly wasn't Barack Obama. It would be President Trump.
Do you think, Megan, kind of a 30,000-foot view, why are we tolerating the UN?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. And then why are we tolerating Ukraine's position to want to get into NATO to violate a treaty that has been there since the 1950s? When you've got segments of the United Nations that have, for example, like Iran on the Human Rights Council, I mean, that should just tell you it's an absolute joke.
Right.
So I don't really have a good answer for that.
And the only reason I bring that up, I mean, hey, look, sitting in our country is an organization that hates our country.
Which organization? The Democratic Party?
Well, maybe there's two.
Yeah. Okay.
Good point. But I don't know. I guess that's an endless question. But you just wonder if it's possible that we end up treating the UN kind of like we're treating NATO. Sorry for all the money we're giving you. We're going to start pulling it back. What happens?
Yeah, and like WHO as well, the World Health Organization. These are international globalist entities that have lost their shine and have been hijacked, quite frankly, by the radical globalists and despots from around the world. So it would be a great idea, and I would like to see that walked back. And the next thing I would like to see, or in coordination with that, is the Trump administration declare the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization.
Yeah, it's time.
And then what we're going to see here domestically will be a ripple effect of people that don't understand the magnitude of that designation yet.
Yeah. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for your time. You're always charming,
too,
and best to you. And keep writing.
Best to you.
Keep investigating.
I will keep writing. Maybe I'll have some big news for you next time I see you.
I'm waiting.
Me too.
Okay, see you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Live the adventure with Hellgate Jetboat Excursions. Discover your wild side in the heart of the Pacific Northwest with Hellgate's high-speed spins, stunning rogue river scenery, and incredible wildlife sightings. It's an experience like no other. Plus, you can enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, a place where families connect, friends unite, and the river brings it all to life. Visit Hellgate.com to book your adventure. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
It's that time again, y'all. The Sherms Market Jackson County Fair is gonna be a blast. Family Fun Focus is free with admission. Don't miss the canine stars, rescue dogs, turn superstars as seen on America's Got Talent. And get ready for Halia, the hula hoop extraordinaire. She's rocked shows with Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, and now she's bringing her wild, high-energy hoop show straight to you. Buy Mart Lucky Number Tuesday means free parking and free admission with your Buy Mart card, or just $10 without. The Sherms Market Jackson County Fair. It's fun for your whole herd. Grab your tickets now at theexpo.com.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Our goal at the Dove is to glorify God and help our audience connect more closely with Him. Something else we do here at the Dove is help connect our audience with reliable businesses and vice versa. Some call it advertising. Here at the Dove, we call it outreach. Connecting businesses with people they can help and our audience with reliable businesses for the help they need. If you would like to reach out to our audience with your business or service, give us a call, 541-776-5368.
Well, welcome back. And, every once in a while we kind of have to slow down and ask ourselves, how are we doing spiritually as a nation? What's going on with the various generations? And someone said the other day, are we experiencing what they would call a silent revival or a vocal rejection of Christianity? Well, I'm always honored, and I mean that sincerely, when you have time to sit down with Dr. Adam Rasmussen. He is a fellow at the Cultural Research Center there and associate professor of humanities at Arizona Christian University. Dr. Rasmussen draws upon 25 years of experience in Christian education to inspire students to thrive under the lordship of Christ in all aspects of their life. His research interests include biblical literacy and educational ministries and Christian apologetics. And all of this is wrapped up at the university's website, which is culturalresearchcenter.org. And there's a picture of that landing page. And of course, we also have Dr. George Barna on once in a while, and he's kind of like the founder of all of that. So the combination is amazing. So Dr. Rasmussen, good to see you, friend. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for your time. We value it greatly. I know this is a big interest of you because your latest research shows a surprising openness among those who reject God. And I mentioned just a few moments ago two terms I'm hearing: a silent revival with young people and a very vocal rejection. Are you seeing that?
That's right. And this latest research shows that millions of Americans are open to learning about God. And so there are people that are vocal against Christianity. That has always been the case, probably always will be the case. But right now we are seeing people are more open to learning more about the faith.
What do you think would be one of the main reasons of openness now?
Well, the American Bible Society last year mentioned that there was an uptick in Bible sales from 2023 to 2024 over the year, 22%. 22% more Bibles were sold. The rest of all print media was flat at 1%. So, Perry, it always comes back to me with time on task. If people are reading the Bible, if they're talking about the Bible, if they're sharing it, living it out with their lives, we know that faith comes from hearing, and hearing from the word of Christ in Romans chapter 10. So it's time on task in the Bible. And the more you get it, the more you want it. And the opposite is true. A lot of people are naysayers. They just haven't cracked open the book.
Well said. So I want to turn the searchlight on ourselves just for a few moments. Do you think, first of all, we believers understand the opportunity that's before us if people are really open?
I don't think so. I think we're missing it, and we need to be awakened to that possibility. And it might actually be the person right in the pew next to us that is going to church just out of habit, and it might not be really holding on to the faith with as much joy as they possibly could. And so it could be our neighbor. It could be somebody, a coworker. And we know that people in America are hurting right now. They're not thriving and flourishing. 59 million Americans have a diagnosable mental illness such as anxiety, depression, fear, suicidal thoughts. They're looking for answers, and unfortunately, they're just kind of spinning their wheels. They don't know where to turn because, by and large, they've rejected the Bible. Or maybe, like you're saying, some people are very loud. Others, it might be a more quiet thing where they've just forgotten, and we need to remind them. So back to your point, I mean, we should be awakened to the possibility that people are looking, and Jesus came to seek and to save that which was lost. So we have to be his hands and feet and get out there and share the message.
I'm not even sure how to ask this question, but let me just try. If the faith community was on a menu and all the churches and the denominations and outreaches and everything else, is it really attractive to the non-believer?
Well, I think genuine, authentic living is always attractive. I think it was John Wesley. Somebody said, why do people come and hear him speak? And someone else said, when you set yourself on fire, people just want to come around and watch you glow, And I think when we are living our lives with the great joy of the Lord, it is attractive. And, our programs perhaps aren't. Some of our gimmicks aren't. But when we lay down our lives because of love and we share that with others, that really is the message.
Authenticity being the key here, I think, Okay, so a little bit more self-examination. Do you think there is a shaking going on within the Christian community in America? I mean, we're seeing a lot of leaders fall, and I don't say that. I say that with a broken heart, but it's happening, and it's very noticeable and very loud. What do you think God's doing?
Well, Jesus said that we are to abide in him and we will bear much fruit because he is the vine and we are the branches. And apart from him, we can do nothing. So I do think that there are times when the vine dresser prunes the vine. And there are opportunities for him to do that, sadly, as you've mentioned. And we have to be careful who we listen to. We have to be careful to be in the Word ourselves consistently. And none of us is perfect by any stretch. But I'm mindful again of Gideon in the Old Testament. And God said to him, you have too many for me to deliver you, to deliver you from Midian. So he whittled them down to God's 300. That was the number God wanted. And he always has a remnant. He's always working. And those numbers, we do all these stats, all these numbers. And God is the Lord of the harvest. And sometimes he prunes. And of course, he's doing that to increase the crop. He's doing that to have more fruit, more people come to know him. Sometimes it's a mysterious way that he does that.
There's another part of this I just want to shine the light on a little bit. I'm all for evangelism. I know you are too, and that's what we're called to do, basically become spiritually reproductive. But when we win somebody to Christ, do we just put a period at the sentence? What happens to discipleship? I mean, there was a time in American church life that no matter who you are, you went to Sunday school. today you just go to teaching. You never really bring these people up through the growth cycle of Christian maturity. Or am I missing it?
Yeah, sometimes we feel like a church service is basically a concert and a message, and that's all we need. But when we look at discipleship in Scripture and throughout church history, and in your lifetime and in mine, we had specific times of teaching. And the biblical faith is one of teaching. Jesus said, "Go make disciples and to teach them everything that I have spoken," and make disciples. There are a lot of ways to do this at Arizona Christian University. We're serious about discipleship. So one of the things that we do, we're culturally and theologically conservative, but we're not associated with any denomination. But one of the things we've done, Perry, is when students come in to our school, year one, they take George Barna's worldview inventory, the one that we talk about all the time. So the students do that, and they do that repeatedly every year. And we just had our first group of 4 of students that went through this for 4 years, and we found some very interesting things that have happened. First of all, nearly all of our students believe that the God of the Bible is real. They have a biblical view of him, and they also believe that the Bible is relevant and true and reliable. They are 3 times more likely to have a biblical worldview than the rest of those that are theologically identified born-again Christians. And we've seen them grow 8-fold in their biblical worldview from the time that they're freshmen to the time that they graduate. So again, numbers and these kind of assessments aren't a perfect indicator, but what we can see by their beliefs and their behaviors is that discipleship works. What we're doing in the classroom and with our coaches and all of that. And that's kind of our main contention, is that you get what you measure. So if it's important to you that people grow in their knowledge of God, both subjectively but also applied in their lives, the objective truth of Scripture, if that's important to you, you'll measure that. And then if things are working, you'll increase that. And in education, we always call it monitor and adjust. We'll make those changes to have a more fruitful harvest.
Oh, that's beautiful. Again, let me just say to our viewers and listeners, you can go to Arizona Christian University, or you can go right to the website there of his department, culturalresearchcenter.org. There's the picture of the landing page. Dr. Rasmussen, one other question before I take a break. I want to come back to the subject of so many are open, and young people, which is so amazing to me. Even young males, one of the researches that I show, young males seem to be really seeking. Is it possible that the culture is obviously lying to us? We're seeing things and institutions and organizations fall. The question comes out of all of this, who can I trust? Is that the openness?
Yeah, I think that people are wary. They're skeptical of things. I think young people in particular have a very strong sense of themselves being right and relying on their gut. And so out there in the secular media stream, you have certain talking heads that are pointing towards perhaps some deeper things like eternal matters, the Bible, things like that. So some of the interest might be that people are tired of the establishment. We saw this in the 50s and the 60s, right? And the ministry of Francis Schaeffer capturing people back to the solid foundation of the Word. And so I think a lot of his methods are very applicable today because people also have been, quote, checking out of church or maybe even university. We see a lot of that right now. A lot of people are saying that higher ed is a waste of money and a waste of time. And probably it is in a lot of places. But as I've shown you, at a place like Arizona Christian University, and there are many other places, people can find answers and create a very solid base for living, for vocation, for having success in life. And so, yeah, people are searching. They definitely are. And some are finding. And God is there.
All right, I want to take a quick break, come back. We'll talk about some other things that are going on. A lot of people are leaving the church, too. Why? So we'll talk about that. culturalresearchcenter.org. That's right to the department there that Dr. Rasmussen is a part of. And, of course, you can check out Arizona Christian University. This university is well recognized and recommended. We'll be right back.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
Chris Silva understands your home and your commercial buildings are two of the largest investments most people make in a lifetime. One is for your family, the other is to support your family financially. That is why Chris Silva Painting goes the extra mile to protect both homes and commercial buildings with proper painting preparation and high-quality primers and paints. Serving Southern Oregon since 2006, this family-owned and operated business has painted over 1,000 homes. Chris Silva Painting offers an industry-leading 5-year warranty that covers materials and labor on all painting projects. Work for both residential and commercial buildings, both interior and exterior painting. Chris and his crew are courteous, they are efficient, organized, timely, and clean. Chris Silva Painting also offers military discounts. At Chris Silva Painting, our mission statement is to bring Christ's heart and principles to our customers and our job sites. We do that with honesty, integrity, and hard work. We don't cut corners, we paint them. CCB number 176097. Chris Silva Painting, 541-890-3960.
From top home sellers in the Valley with John L. Scott
to making RV consignment effortless.
American RV, where Team Toner gets your RV sold fast.
Weekday mornings on the Dove, it's one of the longest running shows in broadcast history, the 700 Club. Informative with the day's top events, encouraging with uplifting stories of faith. The 700 Club, weekdays on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. Such an honor to have back with us today Dr. Adam Rasmussen. He's a fellow there at the Cultural Research Center and associate professor of humanities at Arizona Christian University. You can go directly to his department, and I highly recommend that, culturalresearchcenter.org. There's a picture of the landing page. Of course, you know, we also talked to Dr. George Barner from that area, doing great work with students. Dr. Rasmussen, again, thank you for your time. I want to come to this subject. We talked about a lot of openness, but there's also a lot of door slamming. People are saying no, they're walking away. What do you think's going on here?
Well, our survey shows that there's a growing confusion about moral truth. So if we can't agree on where to find truth, we're going to have confusion on all kinds of issues, identity being one of them, and then morality. How can we decide what is right and wrong? So what we've seen is that self-identified Christians in the United States, we have suffered an 8% loss over the last 5 years. And then the smaller religions like Mormonism, Islam, those have grown by 39%. They're growing. And then, of course, those of no faith are up 3%. So traditional Christianity has been down, and these other faiths are growing at a faster rate. And it comes back to where do we find truth? And I think it's really helpful to remember the Wesleyan quadrilateral, which is a fancy word for a square with a larger bottom and then a shorter top. Okay, so it's got 4 sides. And it used to be that people would see scripture as the foundation, but then on the sides, we would have something like experience and tradition and then reason. Okay, but in America, to me, it seems like all 3 have been thrown out, and at the bottom is experience. So what is my experience? That's how I know what is true. Now, our experience can be helpful, but it's tainted and twisted. The Bible says, you know, the human heart is deceitful. Who can understand it? We need scripture. We need God's revelation to us as the foundation. And without that, we're just, like waves on the tossed to and fro on the wind and the waves. And we need to come back to the Bible. Jesus himself, he said at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, anyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a man who built his house on sand, no foundation. The wind came, the waters rose up, and that house fell with a great crash. There's no foundation apart from the words of Jesus. There just isn't. And that's not my claim. That's the claim of the master.
Are we also experiencing maybe a Roman 1 experience where God is reaching out, trying hard, and giving them every opportunity, and then all of a sudden, let them go?
Right. Yeah. So God speaks to us in our conscience for sure. Okay. All of us know the truth, and unfortunately, we suppress it with our wickedness, is what it says in Romans 1. He also speaks to us through the world, through creation. It says their voice has gone out, speaking of the stars. But everywhere, God is proclaiming that he is the creator. We can see that. We can see it in the lives of other human beings made in his image. There's just no way chance made all of this. And yet we would rather go on our own way. And as you mentioned, 3 times in Romans 1, it mentions that God just handed them over. And so sometimes we see in culture what happens to individuals and to groups and even to societies that move away from this idea of one God, the creator who loves us and sent his son Jesus. There's a big problem with that. So don't be one of those people that he just says, okay, if that's what you want, and God, he is calling out to us in his kindness and through the gospel of Jesus who died for us, to call us back home, to trust in him and to get our lives right. That's what the Bible does.
Right.
It tells us when we're wrong and how to get right and how to stay right. And we need that direction.
I wonder if we miss something in our evangelism, because sometimes, obviously, we come at evangelism from our own traditions. I get that, the way we were. Someone said, whatever won you to Christ is what's required to maintain you in Christ. So you have a tendency to go back to where it came into meaning for you. But there is one subject out there the Scripture is pretty clear in, and that is, in the heart of every person, God has put the desire for eternal life. And I'm out of Ecclesiastes, and I'm wondering if we missed the boat by not dealing with eternity. You're going to spend eternity somewhere. And then that becomes the door opener to talk about the ultimate. I don't know. Are we missing that?
Perry, I agree with you 100%. You do such a great job at asking questions. Yeah. And that is the thing that Jesus spoke about so much, eternal life. And he's the only one that can offer it because he's been raised from the dead.
Right.
And that's pretty much a historic fact. Yes, it's a matter of faith as well, because even the demons, quote, understand or believe, and they shudder. I mean, they know that Jesus is raised from the dead. So it's about putting our trust in him for eternal life. And a lot of people call that the afterlife. I don't call it the afterlife. I call that life. Mm-hmm. This is pre-life. If we're going to talk about eternity, then we're actually playing the game that Jesus claimed, is that he came to give us life and to give it abundantly, to give us that full life that starts now, but it ends never. And so one of the pastors I had, he would encourage people that were suffering, and he'd say this: no matter how bad it gets, it can only last a lifetime. And it's a good perspective that while we're in these earth suits, okay, we're preparing to be in heaven and then later in the fullness of the new created order that Jesus promises us. And then that wonderful Keith Green song when he says he was dead for 3 days, but he told us he was going to prepare a place for us, and he's been working on it for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Isn't it going to be just glorious?
Another topic that kind of rings the bell is the subject of cynicism. And the reason I ask this question, Dr. Rasmussen, is that I am surprised, and I have to be honest, hurtful and discouraged that so many Christians are cynical. it's almost like the cancer of the church if we don't get this behind us. But it's kind of like, yeah, well, whatever, you know. And I thought, well, where's the hope and the love in this? Or is that a problem or not? Or is it just me having a bad pizza?
Yeah, right. So, like, it's not that people are atheists; they're apatheists, meaning they don't care. They're the whatevers, you know, whatever, or the don't cares, or whatever you want to call them, the don'ts.
Right.
They don't know if God exists. They don't believe that God exists, or they don't care, and that's a very sloppy way to live, and it's really very, very unsatisfying.
Yeah.
And Christians need to be awakened back to these eternal realities. I was prepping for our talk today, and I remembered a quote from C.S. Lewis in Weight of Glory. He said, "All day long we are in one degree or another helping each one or another to one of these two destinations, either with God or away from God for all eternity. There are no ordinary people. You've never met a mere mortal." We have to stop looking at people as just on the outside. We have to look at their eternal souls and ask, you know, are they growing closer to God or further away from him because of me? And that's the weight of glory. The weight of glory is actually the weight of the glory of my neighbor. That's put on my shoulders. That's love, where I actually am concerned about their eternal glory in Christ. What a beautiful book, and what a beautiful thought to remember.
Gosh, that's gorgeous. One last topic. It's big, and hopefully we can squeeze it in. It's been said that you have to go through the heart to get to the head. You can't necessarily go through the head to get to the heart. So in other words, you have to open up emotionally. And I understand that. That's meeting people where they are. I mean, you have to be patient enough to meet them where they are. But do we allow in all of this, and even in higher education, do we allow for the supernatural transcendence of God to work?
Well, we have a motto at Arizona Christian University, transforming culture with truth. And that's what we want. But the subject of that motto is God. God himself will do that, and we pray through us. Changing culture is a very, very big thing, and God does that by changing the church. And we have to believe in a God who is not created, a God who will not be tamed, a God who has a love that sent his son to the cross and raised him from the dead for us. That's what we believe. And as we yield our lives to those truths, I think we'll truly live. At least that's been for me since I gave my heart to Jesus back in 1982. And he hasn't let me down yet.
That's wonderful. One last quick question. Do you think we're poised for a revival in America?
I pray so. I mean, we cannot send the fire, but we can chop wood and we can build that altar. And that's what I want to do with my life. Bring that kindling in and say, oh, Lord, start here. Start with Perry and his show. And Lord, have your way with us.
Well, that's wonderful. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, first of all, you can go directly to Dr. Rasmussen's department there, Cultural Research Center.org. They're at the Arizona Christian University. Consider the school. They do a great job all the way around. Give us an update. What's going on? What's going on with the college, university?
Well, we're poised for our 9th year of record enrollment. We have about 1,500 students. Our graduate programs, we have 3 of them. They're going really well. We're launching an honors college this fall. We've got a small cohort of 15 students that have been selected based on their leadership and academics and their spiritual fervor. There's a lot going on. We're really excited.
That's pretty cool. All right, again, culturalresearchcenter.org or directly to the Arizona Christian University. Dr. Rasmussen, you're a joy and an inspiration. Thank you, friend. Thanks for your time. We value it greatly. You're kind of in between sessions here, gearing up for the next fall, I guess, right?
Right. And Gary, I always enjoy my conversations with you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. God bless you, friend. Good to see you.